I know about Senator Amidala. 5 words. Anakin Skywalker freezes. His blood runs cold. The hero with no fear suddenly can't breathe. Mace Windu steps from the shadows. His arms are folded. His eyes are merciless. And in his hands, he holds the power to destroy everything Anakin has ever loved. Your marriage, your unborn child, your entire life. All of it ends tonight unless you do exactly what I say. This is the moment everything changes. This is how the Jedi created Darth Vader. Not through Palpatine's manipulation, not through the dark side's seduction, but through one Jedi Master's decision to weaponize love itself. What if Windu targeted Vader's weakest link? What if he discovered Anakin's secret and used it as a chain around his neck? What if the Jedi's own methods forged the monster that would destroy them? Let's explore the depths of it in this video. The seeds of this confrontation were planted years before, in the quiet observations of a Jedi Master who never learned to trust. Mace Windu had opposed Anakin's training from the very beginning. He remembered standing in that council chamber on Coruscant, watching Qui-Gon Jinn present the boy like some kind of prize, proclaiming him to be the chosen one. The other masters had been intrigued, curious, even hopeful. But Windu had looked into those young eyes and seen something that made his blood run cold. Fear. So much fear. Fear of loss, fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough. The boy radiated it like heat from a sun. And fear, as every Jedi knew, was the path to the dark side. He could still remember the exact moment his concerns crystallized into certainty. It was during Anakin's initial testing, when the boy sat before the council and answered their questions with a mixture of hope and defiance. Windu had reached out with the Force, probing gently at the edges of the child's consciousness, and what he found there had disturbed him deeply. The boy's attachments were like chains, binding him to everything he had ever loved: his mother, his friends on Tatooine, the strangers who had rescued him and promised him a better life. Each connection was a vulnerability, a point where the darkness could find purchase and begin its work. And there was something else, a hunger, a need for power that went beyond the normal desires of a Force-sensitive child. Anakin wanted to be strong, wanted to be special, wanted to be the hero who saved everyone and never lost anything again. It was the kind of ambition that the Sith cultivated in their apprentices, the kind of need that could be twisted, manipulated, turned into something terrible. Windu had voted against training him. He had argued passionately that the risk was too great, that this child carried too much emotional baggage to ever become a proper Jedi. The Force might be strong in him, yes, but strength without control was dangerous. Strength without wisdom was catastrophic. But Qui-Gon had died, and his dying wish had been for Obi-Wan to train the boy. The Council, moved by sentiment and perhaps by the weight of prophecy, had relented. They had taken the tremendous risk of training a 9-year-old boy who had already formed attachments, who had already learned to fear loss, who had already begun to walk the path toward darkness. It was a decision Windu had regretted every day since. He watched Anakin grow from a frightened child into an arrogant young man. He watched the boy's power increase exponentially, far beyond what any Padawan should possess. He watched him struggle with the code, chafing against rules he didn't understand and restrictions he resented. And through it all, Windu waited. Waited for the moment when Anakin would prove him right. Waited for the fall that he knew was coming. The Clone Wars only accelerated his concerns. Anakin became a general, a hero, the face of the Republic's war effort. His exploits were legendary. His victories were celebrated across the galaxy. But Windu saw what the adoring public did not. He saw the darkness that crept into Anakin's fighting style, the rage that fueled his most impressive feats. He saw a young man who was slowly losing himself to the very emotions the Jedi had warned him against. And he saw something else, something that took longer to notice, but once noticed, could not be unseen. Padme Amidala. The first time Windu truly suspected was during a briefing on Coruscant. The Council had assembled to discuss the ongoing security situation in the Senate, and Senator Amidala had been invited to provide her perspective. It was a routine meeting, nothing out of the ordinary. But Windu had happened to glance at Anakin during the senator's presentation, and what he saw had stopped him cold. Anakin wasn't just looking at Padme, he was drinking her in. His eyes tracked her every movement, his body unconsciously leaning toward her, his presence in the Force humming with an emotion that had no place in a Jedi's heart. It lasted only a moment before Anakin caught himself and schooled his features into neutrality. But that moment was enough. Windu began to watch more closely after that. He observed how Anakin volunteered for any mission that might take him near Naboo. He noted how the young Jedi's mood improved dramatically whenever Senator Amidala visited the temple on official business. He catalogued the longing glances, the secret smiles, the way Anakin's Force presence seemed to brighten whenever she was near. It could have been a simple infatuation. Many Jedi struggled with attachments, especially in their younger years. The training was designed to help them move past such feelings, to acknowledge them and release them into the Force. Given time, Anakin might have done the same. But then came the mission to Naboo. Intelligence had suggested that Count Dooku was planning an assassination attempt on Senator Amidala. The Council assigned Obi-Wan to investigate the threat, while Anakin was tasked with protecting the senator. It was a straightforward assignment, the kind of mission Anakin had completed dozens of times before. But something about it felt different. Windu remembered the briefing, remembered how Anakin had received the assignment with barely concealed eagerness. He remembered the look that passed between Anakin and Padme when she arrived at the temple. A look that spoke of history and secrets and something deeper than professional courtesy. And he remembered his own unease, the nagging feeling that he was missing something important. The mission lasted several weeks. When Anakin returned, he was changed. There was a lightness to him that hadn't been there before, a happiness that seemed to glow from within. But there was also a new guardedness, a careful control that suggested he was hiding something. Windu filed his observations away and continued to watch. The watching became easier as the war progressed. As a senior member of the Council, Windu had access to Jedi intelligence reports, mission logs, and communication intercepts. He used these resources judiciously, never conducting an official investigation, but always keeping one eye on Anakin's activities. The pattern that emerged was troubling. Anakin's starfighter made unauthorized trips to Naboo with suspicious regularity. His communication logs showed encrypted transmissions to Senator Amidala's private residence at odd hours of the night. His behavior during missions that involved the senator was noticeably different from his behavior during other assignments, more protective, more emotional, more reckless. But suspicion was not proof, and Windu knew that accusing the Republic's greatest hero of violating his Jedi oaths without concrete evidence would only backfire. He needed something definitive, something undeniable. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Jedi Knight Valin Draco was a young man of unremarkable abilities but exceptional dedication. He had been assigned to the intelligence division, spending his days sifting through the endless stream of data that flowed through the temple's communication center. It was tedious work, but Valen approached it with the same methodical patience he brought to everything else. His task that particular week was monitoring communications in the Senate district. The Clone Wars had made everyone paranoid about separatist infiltration, and the Jedi had been asked to help screen Senate communications for potential security threats. It was technically illegal, a violation of the privacy protections that senators were supposed to enjoy, but the emergency powers granted to the Chancellor had suspended many such niceties. Valin worked through thousands of transmissions, flagging anything that seemed suspicious and forwarding it for further analysis. Most of it was routine political correspondence. Some of it was embarrassing personal communications that he politely ignored. A small percentage warranted closer examination. And then he found it. A private frequency, heavily encrypted, originating from Senator Amidala's apartment in the Senate district. The encryption was unusual, military-grade protocols layered over what appeared to be Jedi communication codes. Someone was going to a great deal of effort to keep these transmissions secure. Valin's first instinct was to flag it as a potential security threat. A senator communicating on a frequency encrypted with Jedi codes could mean any number of things, most of them troubling. But something made him hesitate. The frequency was familiar somehow, the encoding pattern reminiscent of something he had seen before. He cross-referenced it with the Jedi communication database and found a match. The codes belonged to Anakin Skywalker. Valin sat back in his chair, his mind racing. There could be innocent explanations. Perhaps General Skywalker was coordinating security measures with the senator. Perhaps they were discussing classified war information that required extra protection. Perhaps it was nothing at all. But Valin had been trained to notice details, and the details here were troubling. The transmissions occurred late at night, when official business would be unlikely. They were lengthy, sometimes lasting for hours, and the encryption was far more sophisticated than anything a routine security briefing would require. He faced a choice. He could ignore it, chalk it up to nothing, and move on to the next transmission in his queue. He could report it through official channels, triggering a formal investigation that would involve the entire council. Or he could bring it quietly to someone he trusted, someone who could determine whether further action was warranted. Valin chose the third option, and the person he chose to bring it to was Mace Windu. It was not a random selection. Windu had a reputation for discretion. He was known for handling sensitive matters quietly, for protecting the Order's reputation while still addressing problems that needed addressing. If there was nothing to this, Windu would make it go away without anyone being the wiser. And if there was something to it, well, Windu would know what to do. The meeting took place in Windu's private chambers, far from the ears of other council members. Valin presented his findings nervously, half expecting to be reprimanded for overstepping his bounds. Instead, Windu listened in silence, his expression revealing nothing. When Valin finished, Windu simply nodded. "You did the right thing, bringing this to me. I will handle it from here. Speak of this to no one." Valin left feeling confused but relieved. He had done his duty. Whatever happened next was out of his hands. For Windu, it was only the beginning. He spent the next several weeks conducting his own investigation. It was delicate work, requiring him to access records and systems that were technically beyond his authority. But Windu had spent decades building relationships throughout the Temple and the Republic. He knew which archivists could be trusted with sensitive requests. He knew which security officers would look the other way. He knew how to find information without leaving traces. The picture that emerged was damning. The encrypted communications between Anakin and Padme were just the tip of the iceberg. Flight records showed Anakin's starfighter making dozens of unauthorized trips to Naboo over the past 3 years. Financial records revealed payments from Senator Amidala's accounts to establishments on Naboo known for hosting private ceremonies, including one that specialized in discreet weddings. Medical records from a private clinic on Coruscant indicated that Senator Amidala had been receiving prenatal care for the past several months. Anakin Skywalker was not just having an affair with Padme Amidala. He was married to her, and she was carrying his child. Windu sat alone in his chambers, the evidence spread before him, and contemplated what to do next. His first instinct was righteous fury. This was a betrayal of everything the Jedi stood for. Anakin had taken oaths, sacred vows that bound him to the Order and its principles. He had promised to forsake attachments, to put the needs of the many above the desires of the one, to serve the Force rather than his own heart. And he had broken every single one of those promises. The punishment for such a transgression was clear: expulsion from the Order, public disgrace, the end of everything Anakin had worked for. But Windu hesitated. Anakin was not just any Jedi. He was the chosen one, the prophesied hero who would bring balance to the Force. His power was unprecedented, his importance to the war effort undeniable. Expelling him would be a devastating blow to morale, both within the Order and throughout the Republic. It would raise questions about the Jedi's judgment, their ability to police their own, their fitness to lead the clone army. And there was something else, something that had been gnawing at Windu for months now. Chancellor Palpatine. Windu did not trust the Chancellor. There was something about the man that set his teeth on edge, a wrongness he could sense but not identify. The Chancellor was too smooth, too charming, too interested in the Jedi's affairs. And he had taken a particular interest in Anakin Skywalker. Windu had watched their friendship develop with growing unease. Palpatine sought out Anakin's company at every opportunity, inviting him to private meetings, showering him with praise and attention. He told Anakin what he wanted to hear, validated his frustrations with the Council, encouraged his sense of being special, of being destined for greatness. It was manipulation, pure and simple, though Windu could not fathom its purpose. If Anakin fell to the dark side, it would be because Palpatine pushed him there. Of that, Windu was certain. But what if there was a way to prevent that fall? What if Windu could use this secret not as a weapon of destruction, but as a tool of control? What if he could pull Anakin back from the brink by giving him something to fear more than the darkness? It was not the Jedi way. Windu knew this. Manipulation, coercion, blackmail. These were the tools of the Sith, not the servants of the light. A true Jedi would bring this matter before the Council and let them decide Anakin's fate according to the code. But the Jedi way had not been working. The Jedi way had led them into a war they were never meant to fight. The Jedi way had left them blind to the shadows gathering around them. The Jedi way had failed to prevent Anakin's marriage, failed to notice his growing attachment, failed to address the darkness that Windu could see festering in his soul. Perhaps it was time for a different approach. Windu meditated on the decision for 3 days and 3 nights. He sought guidance from the Force, opening himself to its wisdom, asking for a sign that would show him the right path. But the Force was silent, as it so often was in these troubled times. The decision would have to be his alone. On the fourth day, he made his choice. He would not report this to the council. Not yet. Instead, he would confront Anakin directly. He would offer him a deal, a chance to redeem himself without public disgrace. In exchange for Anakin's obedience, his submission to closer oversight, his distance from Palpatine, Windu would keep the secret. Anakin's marriage would remain hidden. His child would be born without scandal. And in time, perhaps, the rules could be changed. The war would end, the Order would reform, and Anakin's transgression could be quietly forgiven. It was a gamble. Windu knew that. Anakin was proud, temperamental, prone to lashing out when cornered. He might refuse the deal. He might attack. He might do something desperate that would force Windu's hand. But Windu was betting that Anakin's love for Padme would outweigh his pride. He was betting that the young Jedi would do anything to protect his wife and unborn child, even submit to a man he despised. And if Windu was wrong, well, he was prepared for that too. He chose the location carefully, a corridor in the temple's lower levels, far from the usual traffic patterns, where their conversation would not be overheard. He chose the timing with equal care, waiting until late evening when most of the temple's residents had retired for the night. He did not want witnesses for what was about to happen. Anakin arrived for his scheduled briefing with Windu, expecting another tedious review of mission protocols. He looked tired, Windu noted. There were shadows under his eyes, a tension in his shoulders that spoke of sleepless nights and heavy burdens. The pregnancy, no doubt. Worrying about Padme, about the child, about keeping his secret in a temple full of Force sensitives who could sense his every emotion. Good. A tired Anakin was a vulnerable Anakin. Skywalker. We need to talk. Anakin's guard went up immediately. His relationship with Windu had never been warm. The Jedi Master had opposed his training, questioned his judgment, and blocked his advancement at every turn. A private meeting with Windu rarely meant anything good. Master Windu, if this is about the mission to Cato Neimoidia, I already submitted my report. This isn't about Cato Neimoidia. Windu stepped closer, letting the shadows fall away from his face. He wanted Anakin to see his expression, to understand that this was not a casual conversation. I know about Senator Amidala. The effect was immediate. All the color drained from Anakin's face. His mouth opened, but no words emerged. For a long moment, he simply stood there, frozen, his eyes wide with shock and dawning horror. I don't know what you're talking about. The denial was automatic, reflexive, the response of a man who had been hiding a secret for so long that lying about it had become second nature. But there was no conviction behind it. Anakin knew that Windu knew. The only question was, how much? Don't insult my intelligence, Skywalker. I know about your marriage. I know about the child she's carrying. I know everything. Anakin's hand drifted toward his lightsaber, a movement so subtle that anyone else might have missed it. But Windu was watching for exactly that reaction. His own hand remained at his side, but his presence in the Force shifted, ready to respond to any attack. How long have you known? Long enough. The question isn't how I found out. The question is what happens now. The fear in Anakin's eyes began to transform into something else. Anger. Hot, churning, barely controlled rage. His fists clenched at his sides, and the Force around him roiled with dangerous energy. If you're going to expel me, just do it. I won't apologize for loving her. I won't pretend it was wrong. It was exactly the reaction Windu had expected. Defiance, pride, the stubborn refusal to admit fault, that had characterized Anakin's entire career as a Jedi. In another context, it might have been admirable. Here, it was simply predictable. "I'm not here to expel you, not today at least." That stopped Anakin cold. The anger in his face gave way to confusion, then suspicion. "What do you want?" Windu allowed himself a small smile. It was not a pleasant expression. "I want to help you, Skywalker. Whether you believe it or not, I have always wanted what's best for the Order. And right now, what's best for the Order is keeping you in it. You're too powerful, too important to lose. But you're also unstable, reckless. You're walking a dangerous path, and if you keep walking it, you will fall. And you think blackmailing me will keep me on the right path?" The word hung in the air between them. Blackmail. It was an ugly word, a word that belonged to criminals and politicians, not Jedi Masters. But Windu did not flinch from it. "I think giving you a reason to stay focused will keep you on the right path. Here is what's going to happen, Skywalker. You will submit to closer oversight from the Council. You will follow our orders without question or complaint. You will distance yourself from Chancellor Palpatine and stop feeding him information about Jedi operations." Anakin's eyes narrowed. "Palpatine? What does he have to do with this? More than you realize. The Chancellor has been manipulating you for years, filling your head with ideas that run counter to everything the Jedi stand for. He's trying to turn you against us, and you've been too blind to see it. That's ridiculous. The Chancellor is my friend. He's never done anything but support me." "Then you're a fool. But that's a conversation for another time. Right now, we're discussing the terms of our arrangement." "Our arrangement." The words dripped with contempt. Anakin took a step forward, his presence in the Force flaring with barely contained fury. "And if I refuse your terms?" Windu met his gaze without flinching. "Then I go to the Council with everything I have. Your marriage is annulled. Your wife's political career is destroyed. Your child is taken from you and raised in the creche, never knowing their parents. And you are cast out of the Order in disgrace, remembered as a cautionary tale about the dangers of attachment." The threat hung in the air like a death sentence. Anakin's face contorted with rage, and for a moment, Windu thought he might actually attack. The Force around them crackled with tension, two powerful wills straining against each other. "You wouldn't dare. Try me." Silence stretched between them. Windu could feel Anakin's emotions churning beneath the surface, anger and fear and desperation, all warring for dominance. He could sense the younger man calculating odds, weighing options, searching for a way out of the trap that had closed around him. But there was no way out. Windu had made sure of that. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Anakin's shoulders slumped. The fight drained out of him, leaving behind something hollow and broken. "You're supposed to be a Jedi. Jedi don't do this. Jedi do what is necessary to protect the Order and the Republic. Right now, this is what's necessary. Do we have an understanding?" Anakin didn't answer immediately. He stood there, head bowed, fists still clenched at his sides. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "What about Padmé? What happens to her if I agree?" "Nothing. She continues her work in the Senate. Your marriage remains secret. Your child is born without scandal. And when the war is over, when the Order has a chance to reform, I will personally advocate for changing the rules on attachment. You and your wife may yet have the future you dream of." It was a lie, of course, or at least a half-truth. Windu had no intention of advocating for anything, but Anakin didn't need to know that. He just needed to believe that there was hope. that cooperation might lead to redemption. And if I do everything you ask, if I follow every order, stay away from Palpatine, let you control my every move, then what? Then we'll see. Prove to me that you can be trusted, Skywalker. Prove that you can put the Order above your own desires. And perhaps, in time, you'll earn back the freedom you've lost. Anakin raised his head. His eyes were red-rimmed, his expression a mask of barely controlled emotion. When he spoke, his voice was flat, devoid of the passion that usually animated it. Yes, Master Windu. We have an understanding. Good. Report to the council chamber tomorrow morning. We have a new assignment for you. Windu turned and walked away, leaving Anakin alone in the shadowed corridor. He did not look back. He did not need to. He had won this battle. But even as he walked away, a small voice in the back of his mind whispered a warning that he was making a terrible mistake. A warning that the darkness he sought to control was far more dangerous than he realized. Windu ignored the voice. He had made his decision. There was no turning back now. Anakin stood in the corridor for a long time after Windu left. His mind raced through 1,000 scenarios, 1,000 possible responses, 1,000 ways he might have handled the situation differently. But it all came back to the same inescapable truth. Windu had him, completely and utterly. He thought about attacking, about striking Windu down before he could reveal the secret. But that was madness. Windu was one of the greatest duelists in the Order. Even if Anakin managed to defeat him, the evidence would still exist. Others would find it. The truth would come out anyway, and Anakin would be exposed as both a liar and a murderer. He thought about running, about taking Padme and fleeing to some remote corner of the galaxy where the Jedi couldn't find them. But that was equally impossible. Padme would never agree to abandon her duties, her responsibilities, everything she had worked for. And even if she did, they would be fugitives forever, always looking over their shoulders, never able to build the life they dreamed of. He thought about confessing, about going to the council himself and throwing himself on their mercy. But he knew how that would end. The council had never trusted him, had always viewed him with suspicion and doubt. They would use his confession as an excuse to do what they had wanted to do from the beginning: cast him out, prove that they had been right about him all along. No, there was only one option. The option Windu had given him: submit, obey, survive. Anakin's hands trembled as he made his way back to his quarters. The temple corridors had never felt so oppressive, the weight of its traditions and expectations pressing down on him like a physical force. He had always chafed against the Jedi's rules, always felt like an outsider in their midst. But this was different. This was a cage, invisible and inescapable, with Windu holding the only key. When he reached his quarters, he locked the door and sat on the edge of his bed, staring at nothing. His mind kept circling back to the same question: how had it come to this? He remembered the day he had married Padme, the sunset over the lake country of Naboo, the gentle breeze carrying the scent of flowers, her hand in his as they spoke their vows. It had been the happiest moment of his life, a promise of everything he had ever wanted: love, family, a future beyond the endless duty and sacrifice of the Jedi Order. He had known it was forbidden. He had known the risks. But in that moment, with Padme smiling at him, her eyes bright with tears of joy, none of that had mattered. The Jedi's rules had seemed distant, irrelevant. a relic of a bygone era that had no place in the world they were building together. Now those rules were a noose around his neck, and Windu was pulling it tighter with every passing moment. Anakin thought about telling Padme. She deserved to know what was happening, what he had agreed to, what it might cost them. But he couldn't bring himself to do it. She was already stressed enough with the pregnancy, with her work in the Senate, with the weight of a secret that grew heavier every day. Adding this burden to her shoulders seemed cruel, pointless. No, he would handle this himself. He would do what Windu demanded, follow his orders, stay away from Palpatine, prove that he could be trusted. And in the end, when the war was over and the Order reformed, they would find a way to be together openly. It was a lie, he told himself, a comforting fiction that made the unbearable seem almost manageable. Deep down, he knew the truth. Windu would never let him go. The leash around his neck would only grow tighter, the demands more onerous, the humiliations more frequent. But what choice did he have? Sleep did not come easily that night, and when it finally did, it brought dreams of darkness and fire, of a shadowy figure laughing as everything Anakin loved crumbled to ash around him. He woke gasping, his heart pounding, the echo of that laughter still ringing in his ears. It was only the beginning. The months that followed were a slow descent into purgatory. True to his word, Windu kept Anakin on a brutally short leash. The assignments came fast and furious, each one more dangerous than the last. The Outer Rim sieges, the most grueling campaign of the Clone Wars, became Anakin's personal hell. But before the sieges, there was Cato Neimoidia. The mission briefing had been straightforward enough. Separatist forces had established a fortress on one of the planet's bridge cities, using it as a staging ground for attacks on Republic supply lines. The 501st was tasked with taking the fortress and eliminating its leadership. What the briefing hadn't mentioned was that the fortress was defended by 3 droid armies, backed by artillery positions that covered every approach. What it hadn't mentioned was that the bridge itself had been rigged with explosives, ready to be detonated if Republic forces got too close. What it hadn't mentioned was that the mission was essentially suicide. Anakin suspected that Windu knew exactly what he was sending them into. The assault began at dawn. Republic gunships descended through flak so thick it looked like solid rain, their pilots weaving through the storm with desperate skill. Half the squadron was destroyed before they even reached the bridge. Anakin led the survivors into the teeth of the enemy defenses. The fighting was brutal, close-quarters combat in the narrow streets of the bridge city. Droids poured from every doorway, their blasters filling the air with crimson bolts. Clone troopers fell by the dozen, their white armor stained with scorch marks and blood. And at the center of it all, Anakin's lightsaber was a blur of motion, cutting down everything in his path. He fought without thought, without emotion, operating on pure instinct. The anger that had been building inside him found an outlet here, channeled into every strike, every parry, every force push that sent droids tumbling into the void below. He was destruction incarnate, a storm of violence that swept across the battlefield. "General," Rex's voice crackled through his comm. "We've got incoming. 3 columns of super battle droids converging on our position. Fall back to the secondary perimeter. I'll handle them." "Sir, that's suicide. There's too many of them." "I said fall back, Captain." "That's an order." Anakin didn't wait for a response. He launched himself toward the approaching columns, his lightsaber carving a path through the standard droids that stood in his way. The super battle droids opened fire as he approached, their wrist rockets leaving trails of smoke in the air. He deflected what he could and dodged the rest, closing the distance with impossible speed. When he reached the first column, he didn't slow down. He plowed through them like a missile, his lightsaber severing limbs and torsos, his force powers crushing droids like tin cans. The second column tried to surround him, but he leaped over their heads and attacked from behind. The third column retreated, their programming struggling to process an enemy that refused to die. By the time Rex and the others caught up, Anakin was standing alone in a field of droid wreckage, his chest heaving, his robes torn and singed. "General, how did you do that?" Anakin didn't answer. He just looked at Rex with eyes that held no warmth, no humor, nothing of the man the captain had come to know. "The fortress is ahead. Move out." They took the fortress by nightfall. The cost was high, nearly 2/3 of their forces lost in the assault. But the mission was completed. Another victory for the Republic, another notation in Anakin's file, and another step down the path toward darkness. Mygato came next. A frozen world of crystalline formations and endless blizzards, where the Separatist forces had dug in behind, fortifications that seemed to grow stronger with every assault. The 501st was deployed alongside Ki-Adi-Mundi's forces, tasked with breaking through the enemy lines and capturing the planet's main power generator. The fighting was even worse than Cato Nemoidia. The cold sapped their strength, the terrain favored the defenders, and the droids seemed endless. For every position they captured, they paid for it in blood. Anakin led assault after assault, throwing himself into danger with an abandon that bordered on reckless. He stopped caring about his own safety, stopped thinking about survival. All that mattered was the mission. Complete the objective. Move to the next target. Repeat. The clones started to notice. They whispered among themselves when they thought he couldn't hear. The general's changed. He's not the same. Something's wrong. But no one dared confront him. And Anakin, lost in his private hell, didn't care enough to address their concerns. 3 weeks into the siege, they finally broke through to the power generator. The final assault was a masterpiece of tactical brilliance, Anakin coordinating his forces with precision that would have impressed even the most experienced commanders. But it came at a cost. By the time the generator fell, the 501st had lost nearly half its strength. Anakin stood in the wreckage of the control room, surrounded by the bodies of droids and clones alike. Victory should have felt satisfying. Instead, it felt hollow, empty. Another battle won, another piece of himself lost. The assignments kept coming, each one seemingly designed to push him to his limits. Felucia, Salukami, Boz Pitti, Merker. Worlds whose names blurred together in an endless parade of suffering and death. On Felucia, he led his troops through a jungle so dense that the force itself seemed to pulse with predatory energy. The native creatures attacked alongside the droids, turning every advance into a fight for survival. Anakin lost count of how many times he was bitten, stung, or clawed. The medics ran out of supplies trying to keep everyone alive. The objective was a Separatist research facility, developing bioweapons that could devastate entire populations. Anakin burned it to the ground with the same cold efficiency he brought to everything now. The scientists tried to surrender. He didn't accept. On Seleucami, he hunted down a Separatist general who had been leading guerrilla attacks against Republic supply lines. The chase lasted days, taking them through swamps and caves and ruins of an ancient civilization. When Anakin finally caught up with his quarry, the general begged for mercy. Mercy was not something Anakin was prepared to give. On Boz Pitti, the 501st was ambushed by a droid army 3 times their size. They should have been annihilated. Instead, Anakin rallied his forces and launched a counterattack so ferocious that the droid's tactical computers couldn't process it. By the end of the day, the Republic held the field. But the victory meant nothing to Anakin. None of them did anymore. Each battle stripped away another piece of Anakin's humanity. He stopped caring about the grand strategy, the political implications, the reasons why they were fighting. All that mattered was the next objective, the next enemy, the next chance to prove his worth. He excelled, of course. He always excelled. His tactical brilliance and overwhelming power turned the tide of battle after battle. The Separatists learned to fear the sight of his starfighter, descending from the sky, his blue lightsaber cutting through their ranks like a scythe through wheat. Clone troopers spoke of him in hushed, reverent tones. The general who led from the front, who asked nothing of his men that he wasn't willing to give himself. But the man they admired was not the man Anakin used to be. He stopped joking with his troops. The easy camaraderie that had once defined his relationship with the 501st gave way to cold professionalism. He gave orders, they obeyed. There was nothing more to it than that. Captain Rex noticed the change more than anyone. He had served with General Skywalker since the beginning of the war, had come to know him as a leader, a friend, a brother in arms. The man he followed into battle now was a stranger. "General, are you all right? You've seemed different lately." Anakin didn't look up from the tactical display. "I'm fine, Rex, just focused on the mission." It wasn't true, and they both knew it. But Rex had been trained to follow orders, not to question his superiors. If the general said he was fine, then he was fine. End of discussion. Obi-Wan saw it too. They had been partners for over a decade, brothers in everything but blood. No one knew Anakin better than Obi-Wan, and no one was more troubled by the changes he was witnessing. "Anakin, we need to talk." They were aboard the Resolute, en route to their next battlefield. Anakin stood by a viewport, staring out at the swirling chaos of hyperspace. He didn't turn when Obi-Wan approached. "If this is about the mission, I've already reviewed the briefing materials." "It's not about the mission. It's about you. You've been distant, cold. You barely speak to me anymore. And the way you've been fighting..." Obi-Wan hesitated. "It's not like you, Anakin. There's a darkness in your strikes that wasn't there before." Anakin's jaw tightened. "I'm doing my job. Isn't that what the Council wants? The Council wants you to be the Jedi we know you can be. But this isn't that. This is something else. Something's wrong, and I want to help you. But I can't if you won't talk to me." For a moment, Anakin almost told him. The words rose to his lips, the truth begging to be spoken. But then he remembered Windu's warning, the threat that hung over everything he loved. "There's nothing to talk about, Master. I'm fine. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to prepare for the assault." He walked away, leaving Obi-Wan standing by the viewport, helpless and confused. The distance between them grew wider with each passing day. Where once they had moved in perfect synchronization, anticipating each other's thoughts and actions, now there was only awkward silence and forced pleasantries. Obi-Wan tried again and again to reach his former Padawan, but every attempt was rebuffed with the same cold dismissal. "I'm fine." The words became a shield, a wall that Anakin erected between himself and everyone who cared about him. Behind that wall, the resentment festered. It wasn't just Windu he was angry at, though Windu bore the brunt of his hatred. It was the entire Council, the whole blasted order that had created the rules that made his love a crime. It was the Republic that had dragged the Jedi into a war, They were never meant to fight. It was the galaxy itself, vast and uncaring, that seemed determined to destroy everything he held dear. And at the center of it all, like a black hole pulling everything into its gravity, was one undeniable truth. This was his fault. He had fallen in love with Padme. He had married her in secret. He had broken his oaths and lied to everyone who trusted him. If he had been stronger, more disciplined, more like the Jedi he was supposed to be, none of this would be happening. The guilt was almost worse than the anger. It gnawed at him in quiet moments when the battle was over and the dead were counted. It whispered to him in the darkness, telling him that he deserved everything that was happening to him. It painted visions of a future where Padme discovered what he had become and turned away in disgust. Some nights, the guilt kept him awake for hours. Other nights, it invaded his dreams, twisting them into nightmares of loss and despair. And then, the visions started. The first one came on Felucia, in the brief hours of rest between assaults. Anakin had closed his eyes, hoping for a few hours of dreamless sleep. The exhaustion was bone deep, the kind that made his muscles ache and his thoughts blur together. He should have fallen into unconsciousness immediately. Instead, he found himself in a place he didn't recognize. It was a sterile room, filled with harsh light and the hum of medical equipment. Everything was white and chrome, clinical and cold. The smell of antiseptic filled his nostrils, so real that for a moment he thought he had been transported there physically. Then he saw her. Padme was there, lying on a medical bed, her face contorted with pain. She was screaming, clutching her swollen belly, crying out for help that never came. Medical droids moved around her with mechanical efficiency, their arms extending with instruments and scanners. But something was wrong. There was blood, too much blood, spreading across the white sheets like a crimson tide. Anakin tried to move toward her, tried to reach out and take her hand, but his body wouldn't respond. He was frozen in place, forced to watch as the woman he loved suffered and bled and died. No, this isn't real. This can't be real. But the vision didn't care what he believed. It continued with relentless clarity, showing him every detail of Padme's agony. Her face growing pale, her breathing becoming labored, her grip on the bed rails weakening until her hands fell slack at her sides. And then she was still. Too still. Her eyes stared at nothing, the light fading from them as Anakin watched helplessly. The monitors flatlined, their steady beeping giving way to a single, endless tone. She was gone. Anakin woke gasping, his heart pounding so hard it felt like it might burst from his chest. The tent around him was dark, the sounds of the camp filtering through the canvas walls. For a moment, he couldn't remember where he was or why he was there. It was just a dream, he told himself. Just a nightmare born of stress and exhaustion. But the vision returned the next night, and the night after that, and the night after that. Each time, the details grew clearer, more vivid. He could feel the cold air of the medical bay on his skin. He could smell the antiseptic, taste the fear in his mouth. He could hear Padme's screams, her desperate pleas, her final whispered words. Anakin, Anakin, help me, please. I'm so afraid. And he could never help her. He could never reach her. He could only watch as she slipped away, as the light left her eyes, as everything he had ever loved was torn from him. The visions were more than dreams. He was certain of that now. They were warnings, glimpses of a future that the Force was showing him. The same way his mother had appeared to him in visions, suffering and calling for help. The same way he had known deep in his soul that she was dying. He had failed to save his mother. He had arrived too late, had held her in his arms as she took her last breath, had been powerless to prevent her death. He would not fail Padme, but how could he save her? The Jedi taught that attachments were dangerous, that love was a path to the dark side. They would tell him to release his fear, to accept whatever fate the Force decreed. They would tell him that death was a natural part of life, that Padme would become one with the Force, that he should find peace in that. He couldn't find peace. He couldn't accept it. The thought of losing Padme, of watching her die the way he had watched his mother die, was unbearable. It was a darkness that threatened to swallow him whole. And there was no one he could turn to. Not Obi-Wan, who would lecture him about the code. Not the Council, who would expel him for his attachment. Not even Padme herself, who was already stressed enough with the pregnancy and her duties in the Senate. He was alone with his fear, alone with the certainty that disaster was coming, and alone with the desperate need to find a way, any way, to prevent it. Padme was going to die in childbirth. He was certain of it now. The Force was showing him the future, a warning of what was to come, and there was nothing he could do to stop it, or so he thought. Back on Coruscant, Padme watched her husband slip away from her, and her heart broke a little more each day. Their communications had always been limited by necessity. The war kept Anakin on the front lines, and their secret relationship made frequent contact dangerous. But they had always found ways to connect, stolen moments of holographic intimacy that sustained them through the long separations. Now, those moments had all but disappeared. Anakin's messages became shorter, colder, stripped of the warmth and tenderness that had once defined them. When they did manage to speak face to face, he seemed distracted, distant, his thoughts clearly elsewhere. At first, Padme tried to be understanding. The war was taking its toll on everyone. Anakin was under incredible pressure, leading men into battle day after day, watching them die, carrying the weight of their losses. It was natural that he would be changed by such experiences, but this felt like something more. Anakin, what's wrong? You haven't been yourself for months. They were in her apartment on Coruscant, one of his rare leaves from the front. He sat on the edge of the couch, his body rigid with tension, his eyes fixed on some distant point that only he could see. I'm fine, Padme. Just tired. You keep saying that, but I don't believe you. I know you, Annie. I can see that something is eating you up inside. Please, talk to me. Whatever it is, we can face it together. For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Pain, longing, the desperate desire to unburden himself, to share the weight that was crushing him. But then the walls went up again, and his expression hardened. There's nothing to talk about. I told you, I'm fine. Padme reached for his hand, but he pulled away. The rejection stung more than she wanted to admit. Is it me? Is it the baby? Are you having second thoughts about us? No, never. His response was immediate, fierce. You and the baby are the only things that matter to me. You're the only things keeping me going. Then why won't you let me in? Why do you keep pushing me away? Anakin didn't answer. He couldn't answer, not without telling her everything. And he couldn't tell her everything without putting her in even more danger. Padme watched him struggle, her own heart aching with helplessness. She wanted to hold him, to comfort him, to chase away whatever demons were haunting him. But she couldn't reach someone who refused to be reached. I love you, Anakin. Nothing will ever change that. but I can't help you if you won't let me try." "I know." His voice was barely a whisper. "I'm sorry." "Sorry for what?" He didn't answer, and when he left the next morning to return to the front, Padme couldn't shake the feeling that she was losing him. Not to the war, not to the Jedi, but to something darker, something she couldn't name. She placed a hand on her swollen belly, where their children, twins, she had learned, grew stronger every day. The pregnancy had been a surprise, though perhaps it shouldn't have been. She and Anakin had been married for years, had spent what stolen moments they could together, had loved each other with a passion that defied the Jedi's cold philosophy. It was only natural that their love would eventually create new life. When she had first learned she was pregnant, Padme had felt a mixture of joy and terror. Joy at the thought of having children with the man she loved, of building the family they had always dreamed about. Terror at what it would mean for their secret, for Anakin's position in the Order, for everything they had worked so hard to protect. She had told Anakin during one of his brief returns to Coruscant. His reaction had been everything she could have hoped for. His face had lit up with wonder, his hands trembling as he placed them on her still flat belly. For a moment, all the stress and pain of the war had fallen away, and she had seen the man she had married, the man who believed in a future where they could be happy together. But that joy had been short-lived. Almost immediately, the fear had crept in. Fear of discovery. Fear of what the Council would do if they found out. And then, the nightmares had started, and Anakin had become someone else entirely. She didn't know about the visions. He hadn't told her, hadn't shared the burden of his prophetic dreams. All she knew was that her husband was slipping away, becoming harder and colder with each passing day. The warmth that had once defined him was being replaced by something darker, something that frightened her. Part of her wanted to confront him, to demand that he tell her what was wrong, to force him to let her in. But another part of her was afraid of what she might find, afraid that the truth would be worse than the mystery, afraid that if she pushed too hard, she would lose him entirely. So she waited, and she worried, and she prayed to whatever gods might be listening, that somehow everything would work out. Whatever happened, she would protect them, even if Anakin couldn't protect himself. Chancellor Palpatine had invested years in cultivating his relationship with Anakin Skywalker. Patience had been his watchword, the understanding that great things take time to grow. He had positioned himself as a mentor, a friend, a confidant. He had filled Anakin's head with praise and validation, carefully stoking the fires of resentment that burned beneath the young Jedi's surface. The plan had been proceeding perfectly. Anakin trusted him implicitly, sought his advice on matters both professional and personal, defended him against any criticism from the Jedi Council. The bond between them had grown stronger with each passing year, until Palpatine was confident that when the time came, Anakin would choose him over the Order. And then, suddenly, inexplicably, everything changed. It started subtly. Anakin cancelled a scheduled meeting, citing urgent military business. Then another, then a third. When they did manage to meet, the conversations were different, shorter, more guarded. Anakin no longer shared his frustrations with the Council, no longer sought Palpatine's advice on his personal life, no longer lingered after official business was concluded. Something had changed, and Palpatine needed to know what. He probed carefully at first, testing the waters with gentle questions designed to elicit information without arousing suspicion. "You seem troubled, Anakin. Is everything all right?" "I'm fine, Chancellor. Just focused on the war." The words were familiar. Palpatine had heard Anakin say them dozens of times before. But there was a difference now. A flatness to his voice that hadn't been there before. Anakin was putting up walls, and Palpatine couldn't figure out why. He tried a different approach, offering insights that had always captured Anakin's interest in the past. "The Jedi Council, I fear, does not appreciate you as they should. They assign you to the most dangerous missions, yet deny you the recognition you deserve. It must be frustrating." In the past, such words would have prompted a flood of agreement, a litany of complaints about the Council's unfairness and short-sightedness. Instead, Anakin simply shrugged. "The Council knows what's best for the Order. I trust their judgment." Palpatine blinked. This was not the Anakin he knew. Something was very wrong. He escalated his investigation, activating networks of spies and informants that he had cultivated throughout the Republic. Eyes and ears in the Senate, in the military, even within the Jedi Temple itself. They began to watch Anakin, tracking his movements, monitoring his communications, reporting back on anything unusual. The picture that emerged was troubling. Anakin's behavior had changed dramatically over the past several months. He no longer sought out Palpatine's company. He followed council orders without complaint. He had distanced himself from old friends and confidants, retreating into a shell of cold professionalism. And every one of these changes could be traced back to a single point of origin: a private meeting with Mace Windu. Palpatine's spies could not tell him what had transpired in that meeting. The corridor had been empty, the conversation unrecorded. But the timing was too perfect to be coincidental. Whatever Windu had said to Anakin in that meeting, it had fundamentally altered his behavior. Palpatine dug deeper. He accessed records that were supposed to be beyond his reach, calling in favors from allies who asked no questions. Financial records, medical databases, communication logs. The scattered pieces of a puzzle that slowly, painstakingly, began to come together. When the full picture finally emerged, Palpatine sat back in his chair and laughed. Mace Windu, that paragon of Jedi virtue, had discovered Anakin's marriage to Padme Amidala. And instead of reporting it to the Council, he had chosen to use the information as leverage. He was blackmailing the Chosen One, using his love as a weapon to keep him in line. The irony was delicious. The Jedi preached about the dangers of attachment, warned against the seduction of the dark side. And yet here was one of their most respected masters, engaging in manipulation that would make a Sith proud. It was also an opportunity. Palpatine considered his options carefully. He could approach Anakin directly, reveal what he knew, and try to turn him against Windu. But that approach carried risks. Anakin was clearly operating under duress, conditioned to obey Windu's commands. He might report the conversation, might see Palpatine's intervention as another attempt at manipulation. No, a direct approach would not work. He needed to be more subtle, more indirect. He needed to use Padme. Senator Amidala was known for her fierce loyalty to those she loved. She would do anything to protect her husband, even if it meant destroying herself in the process. If she were to learn that a Jedi Master was blackmailing Anakin, using their marriage as a weapon against him, she would not take it quietly. She would fight back, loudly, publicly, and in the process, she would expose Windu's scheme and blow his carefully constructed house of cards sky high. Palpatine arranged for the information to reach Padme through channels that could not be traced back to him. A data chip anonymously delivered to her Senate office. A whispered warning from an old friend who owed Palpatine a favor. breadcrumbs of evidence that painted a damning picture. He watched her reaction with hidden satisfaction. The shock, the disbelief, the dawning horror as she reviewed the evidence and realized what was being done to her husband. And then the anger. Padme Amidala had been a queen, a senator, and a warrior in her own right. She had faced assassins and armies, had defied tyrants and challenged corruption. She would not stand idly by while someone tormented the man she loved. Palpatine had counted on that. Padme's first instinct was to confront Windu directly. She wanted to burst into the Jedi Temple, find the master who was destroying her husband, and demand an explanation. But cooler heads prevailed. Her handmaidens talked her down, reminded her of the political realities she faced. A private confrontation would achieve nothing. Windu would deny everything, and Padme would have no recourse. The Jedi were beyond the Senate's jurisdiction. They answered to no one but themselves. But a public confrontation, that was different. If Padme exposed Windu's actions before the entire Senate, the political fallout would be immense. The Jedi's reputation would be damaged. Questions would be raised about their fitness to lead the clone army, their judgment in handling internal matters. The pressure would be irresistible. The council would be forced to act. It was a dangerous gambit. It would mean exposing her marriage to Anakin, sacrificing the secret they had protected for years. It would mean public scandal, political repercussions, the end of the carefully constructed facade that had allowed them to love each other in peace. But what was the alternative? Watching Anakin be slowly destroyed by a man who saw him as nothing more than a tool to be controlled. No. Padme had made her choice when she married Anakin. She had chosen love over duty, passion over prudence. She would not abandon that choice now. She called a special session of the Senate. The request caused an immediate stir throughout the political establishment of Coruscant. Senator Amidala was known for her measured approach to politics, her preference for working through proper channels, her disdain for the theatrical gestures that some of her colleagues favored. For her to call a special session, something extraordinary must have happened. Speculation ran rampant in the hours before the session. Some thought it must be related to the war, perhaps a breakthrough in negotiations or a new strategy for ending the conflict. Others suspected it might be connected to the recent scandals surrounding the banking clan's handling of Republic funds. A few, those with better sources, whispered that it might have something to do with the Jedi. None of them came close to guessing the truth. The chamber was packed when Padme took the floor. Every pod was occupied, every seat filled with senators and their aides. The air hummed with anticipation and curiosity. Senators from across the Republic leaned forward in their pods, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of their personal displays, all of them wondering what could have prompted such an unusual request. The Chancellor sat in his box, his expression one of benevolent interest, the perfect mask of a concerned leader. Beneath that mask, Palpatine could barely contain his anticipation. He had orchestrated this moment with exquisite care, guiding events to this precise culmination. Now he would watch as his plans bore fruit. And in the gallery reserved for Jedi observers, Mace Windu watched with narrowed eyes, sensing that something was about to go terribly wrong. The Force was churning around him, dark currents swirling in patterns he couldn't quite decipher. A cold dread settled in his stomach as Padme stepped to the central podium. "My fellow senators," Padme began, her voice steady despite the hammering of her heart. The chamber's acoustics carried her words to every corner, amplified by systems designed to ensure that every syllable was heard. "I come before you today to expose a grave injustice. For months, a high-ranking member of the Jedi Council has been engaged in a campaign of blackmail and manipulation against one of the Republic's greatest heroes. A ripple of shock passed through the chamber. Senators exchanged confused glances, whispered speculations filling the air. The words were like a bomb going off in the middle of the chamber, stunning everyone into momentary silence. Padme continued, her voice growing stronger with each word, fueled by the righteous anger that had been building since she discovered the truth. Jedi Master Mace Windu has obtained personal information about General Anakin Skywalker and has been using it to control him. He has threatened to destroy General Skywalker's reputation, his career, and his personal life unless he submits to Windu's demands. He has deliberately assigned General Skywalker to the most dangerous missions in the war, putting him in harm's way again and again. This is not the behavior of a Jedi protector. This is the behavior of a tyrant. The chamber erupted. Senators shouted questions and accusations, their voices blending into a cacophony of outrage and disbelief. Jedi representatives in the gallery rose from their seats, their faces masks of shock and confusion. Mace Windu sat frozen, his expression carefully neutral, but his presence in the Force churning with barely concealed alarm. In that moment, Windu understood. He understood that his carefully constructed scheme had been exposed, that everything he had worked to keep hidden was about to be dragged into the light. And he understood, with terrible certainty, that there was nothing he could do to stop it. Padme raised her hand for silence. It took several minutes for the chamber to quiet enough for her to continue, the noise dying away slowly as senators realized she had more to say. I know these accusations are extraordinary. I would not make them without proof. The evidence is displayed on the screens before you. Recordings, documents, testimony from those who have witnessed General Skywalker's suffering. Judge for yourselves whether a Jedi Master has betrayed the values he claims to uphold. The screens flickered to life, flooding the chamber with images and sounds that left no room for doubt. Audio recordings of Windu's confrontation with Anakin, obtained through means Padme chose not to disclose. The words were damning, Windu's cold voice laying out his terms with clinical precision. I know about your marriage. I know about the child she's carrying. I know everything. What do you want? I want you to submit to closer oversight. I want you to follow council orders without question. I want you to distance yourself from Chancellor Palpatine. And if I refuse, then I go to the council with everything I have. Your marriage is annulled. Your wife's political career is destroyed. Your child is taken from you and raised in the creche, never knowing their parents. The recording ended, and the silence that followed was absolute. Every senator in the chamber was staring at the screens, their faces reflecting a mixture of horror and disbelief. This was not the Jedi they thought they knew. This was something else entirely. Mission logs appeared next, showing the pattern of dangerous assignments that had followed the confrontation. Statistical analyses demonstrated that since Windu's ultimatum, Anakin's deployment to high-casualty operations had increased by over 300%. Medical reports detailed the psychological toll, the symptoms of stress and exhaustion that the official records had minimized. And woven through it all, the truth that Padme could no longer hide. She and Anakin Skywalker were married, had been married for years, and they were expecting children. Twins, the medical records revealed. The documentation was irrefutable. Wedding certificates from Naboo, bearing their signatures and the seal of a holy man who had officiated the ceremony. Financial records showing shared accounts, joint purchases, the mundane details of a life built together. Communication logs that revealed the depth of their love and the lengths they had gone to keep it secret. "I know that this revelation will shock many of you," Padme said, her voice trembling with emotion. "I know that some will condemn us for our deception. But I ask you to understand why we felt we had no choice. The Jedi Order forbids attachments. They would have forced Anakin to choose between his calling and his heart. We chose to love each other in secret rather than not love at all. Is that so terrible? Is it truly so wrong to want what every sentient being in this galaxy wants? Connection, family, love." She paused, gathering herself for what came next. The chamber was silent, hanging on her every word. "And this is how the Jedi repaid our discretion, with blackmail, with manipulation, with the systematic destruction of my husband's spirit. Master Windu discovered our secret and used it as a weapon, not to protect the Order, not to uphold the Code, but to control the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy, to turn him into a puppet dancing on strings of fear." She turned to face the section of the chamber where the Jedi observers sat, her eyes finding Windu in the crowd. "I call upon the Jedi Council to answer for these crimes. I call upon this Senate to investigate this abuse of power. And I call upon the people of the Republic to ask themselves whether the guardians they have trusted for 1,000 generations are truly worthy of that trust." The chamber erupted into chaos once more. Senators shouted over each other, their voices blending into an unintelligible roar of outrage and accusation. Some called for Padme's expulsion from the chamber, accusing her of fabricating evidence or having ulterior motives. Others demanded an immediate investigation into Windu's actions, calling for his arrest and trial. Still, others questioned the Jedi's role in the Republic entirely, asking whether an organization capable of producing such behavior should be entrusted with leading their armies. Through it all, Palpatine watched with hidden satisfaction. The Jedi's reputation, carefully built over millennia, was crumbling before his eyes. The trust that generations of Republic citizens had placed in their protectors was being eroded, questioned, destroyed. And at the center of it all, Anakin Skywalker, the key to all his plans, was being positioned exactly where Palpatine needed him, isolated, vulnerable, ready to be turned. Everything was proceeding exactly as he had foreseen. The fallout from Padme's revelation spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within hours, the story dominated every newsfeed, every political discussion, every conversation in every cantina, from the core to the outer rim. The hero with no fear was married, had been married for years, had been living a double life, lying to the Order that had raised him, to the Republic that had celebrated him, to everyone who had believed in him. The reactions were as divided as the galaxy itself. For some, Anakin's deception was unforgivable. They saw it as a betrayal of trust, a violation of the sacred oaths that every Jedi was required to take. They pointed to the danger of emotional attachments, the way love could cloud judgment and compromise duty. They demanded punishment, expulsion, a clear message that the Jedi Order would not tolerate such transgressions. For others, Anakin was a victim. They saw a young man who had been forced to choose between his heart and his calling, who had tried to serve both and been punished for it. They questioned the wisdom of the Jedi's rules on attachment, argued that such restrictions were cruel and outdated, called for reform and understanding. But whatever they thought of Anakin, almost everyone agreed on one thing. Mace Windu's actions were indefensible. Blackmail was not the Jedi way. Manipulation was not the Jedi way. Using a man's love for his wife and unborn child as a weapon against him was something only a villain would do. The Jedi Council convened an emergency session, their faces grim with the knowledge that one of their own had brought shame upon the Order. Windu was summoned to explain himself, and he did so without apology. I did what I believed was necessary to protect the Order and maintain control over a dangerous and unstable individual. The words fell into a silence that was heavy with judgment. The other masters stared at Windu, their expressions ranging from disappointment to disgust. "Necessary," Yoda said, his voice heavy with sorrow. A convenient word, that is. Much evil in its name has been done. Anakin Skywalker is the most powerful Jedi alive. He is also the most volatile. His attachment to Senator Amidala made him a liability, a potential threat to everything we have built. I sought to channel that liability, to turn it into a tool for the Order's benefit. A tool. Ki-Adi-Mundi's voice was cold. "You speak of a fellow Jedi, as if he were a weapon to be wielded." "Is that not what we have made him?" Windu shot back. "We trained him for war. We sent him to kill. We celebrated his victories while ignoring the darkness growing within him. I simply tried to harness what we had already created." The room erupted into argument. Masters shouted over each other, voices rising in a cacophony of accusation and defense. Through it all, Yoda sat in silence, his ancient eyes fixed on Windu with an expression that might have been sadness or disappointment or something else entirely. When the noise finally subsided, Yoda spoke. "Failed you have, Master Windu. Not in your intentions, perhaps, but in your methods. The path you chose, the Jedi way, it is not. Trusted you, we did. And this trust you have violated. I was trying to save him. To save all of us. Saved him, you have not. Driven him further into darkness, you may have. See this, can you not?" Windu's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. What could he say? The evidence was before them all. His grand plan had backfired spectacularly, exposing the Order to scandal while failing to achieve any of its goals. The Council deliberated for hours. In the end, they reached a decision. Mace Windu was stripped of his seat on the Council. His authority over Jedi operations was revoked. He was reassigned to a posting in the Outer Rim, far from Coruscant, far from Anakin, far from the halls of power he had walked for decades. It was not expulsion. Not quite. But it was a devastating blow to a man who had defined himself by his position in the Order. And yet, as Windu accepted the judgment with stony silence, Anakin felt no satisfaction. The man who had tormented him for months was being punished, yes, but the punishment felt hollow, inadequate. Windu had tried to destroy his life, and all he got in return was a demotion. The resentment that had been building in Anakin's heart crystallized into something harder, colder, something that felt very much like hate. The Council's judgment of Anakin was similarly complicated. His marriage was a clear violation of the code, but the circumstances surrounding its exposure muddied the waters. He had been manipulated, coerced, and psychologically tortured by a master who should have been guiding him, punishing him for a transgression that had been exploited so ruthlessly felt unjust. In the end, they reached a compromise that satisfied no one. Anakin would not be expelled from the Order. His service to the Republic, his importance to the war effort, and the unprecedented public support he had received all argued against such a drastic measure. But he would be placed on probation. His activities would be monitored. He would be required to undergo counseling to address his attachment issues. It was a slap on the wrist, disguised as a second chance. Anakin accepted it without gratitude. "They're letting you stay," Obi-Wan said afterward, trying to find a silver lining. That's something, isn't it? You can still be a Jedi. Can I? Anakin's voice was bitter. Or am I just a prisoner with a longer leash? Anakin, I know this has been difficult, but the Council is trying to help you. They want to give you a chance to prove yourself. The Council doesn't give a damn about me. They never have. They kept me around because they needed my power. Now they're keeping me around because they're afraid of what I might do if they cast me out. That's not true, isn't it? Anakin turned to face his former master, his eyes burning with an intensity that made Obi-Wan take an involuntary step back. Tell me honestly, Obi-Wan, if I wasn't the chosen one, if I was just another Jedi who broke the code, would they have given me a second chance? Obi-Wan hesitated. It was all the answer Anakin needed. That's what I thought. He walked away, leaving Obi-Wan standing alone in the corridor, his heart heavy with the knowledge that he was losing his brother and had no idea how to save him. That night, Anakin received a message from Chancellor Palpatine. The summons arrived on his personal datapad, encrypted with codes that only the two of them shared. It was brief, almost curt. Come to my office immediately. There are matters we must discuss. The tone was different from their usual correspondence, more urgent, more serious. Anakin considered ignoring it, considered staying in his quarters and wallowing in his misery. But something compelled him to go. Perhaps it was curiosity. Perhaps it was hope that someone, anyone, might offer him a way out of the nightmare his life had become. The Chancellor's office was quiet when Anakin arrived. The usual bustle of aides and assistants was absent, the corridors empty. The reception area was dark, the secretary's desk abandoned. It felt less like the heart of the Republic's government and more like a tomb. Palpatine stood by the window, gazing out at the Coruscant skyline. The city stretched to the horizon in every direction, billions of lights twinkling like stars, billions of lives going about their business, oblivious to the darkness gathering at the center of their galaxy. Thank you for coming, Anakin. I know you have much on your mind. Anakin remained by the door, his posture guarded. He had been avoiding Palpatine for months, following Windu's commands. Now that those commands no longer held power over him, he wasn't sure how to feel about being here. The Chancellor had always been kind to him, had always listened to his concerns with patience and understanding. But there was something different about tonight, something Anakin couldn't quite identify. What do you want, Chancellor? Palpatine turned, his expression one of gentle concern. The face was familiar, the same benevolent mask he had worn for years. But something about the eyes was different. There was a depth to them that Anakin had never noticed before, a weight of age and experience that seemed impossible for a mere politician. I want to help you, my boy. You have been through an ordeal that no one should have to endure. The betrayal you suffered at the hands of those who should have protected you. It breaks my heart. Anakin felt his guard wavering. There was something in Palpatine's voice, a warmth and understanding that he had not heard from anyone else. The Jedi had judged him, the Senate had debated him, but Palpatine seemed to simply accept him. I don't know what to do anymore. Everything I believed in has been turned upside down. The Jedi, the Order, all of it feels like a lie. Because it is a lie. Palpatine stepped closer, his voice dropping to an intimate murmur. The Jedi have never been what they claim to be. They preach about peace and justice, but look at what they've done to you. They took you from your mother, trained you to suppress your emotions, and then punished you for being human. They're not all bad. Obi-Wan, he tried to help. Did he? Or did he simply follow orders, as he always has? When Windu was destroying you piece by piece, where was Obi-Wan? He suspected something was wrong, but he didn't push. He didn't fight for you. He let you suffer because challenging the council was too uncomfortable. The words struck home with devastating precision. Anakin thought about all the times he had almost confided in Obi-Wan, all the times his friend had sensed his distress and done nothing. It wasn't fair, he knew. Obi-Wan had his own constraints, his own loyalties. But fairness was hard to find when your heart was breaking. "What are you saying, Chancellor?" Palpatine settled into a chair, gesturing for Anakin to sit across from him. The gesture was casual, friendly, the kind of invitation a mentor might extend to a troubled student. But there was something predatory about it too, a spider inviting a fly into its web. "I'm saying that you have been failed by those who should have cared for you. The Jedi, the Council, even your friend Obi-Wan. They all stood by while you were tormented. They all let it happen. And now they expect you to go back to them, to serve them loyally, as if nothing had changed." Anakin sat, his shoulders slumping with exhaustion. It felt good to sit, to rest, to let someone else carry the weight of the conversation. What choice do I have? Where else can I go? There are always choices, Anakin. There are always alternatives. The Jedi would have you believe that theirs is the only path, that the Force can only be understood through their lens. But they are wrong. The Force is far greater than they imagine, far more complex, far more powerful. You're talking about the dark side. The words came out before Anakin could stop them. He had heard the whispers, of course. Every Jedi knew about the Sith, about the eternal struggle between light and darkness. It was the boogeyman of their childhood, the cautionary tale told to frighten Padawans into obedience. "I'm talking about knowledge," Palpatine replied smoothly. "Knowledge that the Jedi have forbidden, not because it is evil, but because they fear its power. They fear what it could do in the hands of someone truly gifted, someone like you. I'm not a Sith. I would never..." "Never what?" "Never seek the power to protect the ones you love. Never reach for the strength to change your fate. Never defy the arbitrary rules of an order that has done nothing but fail you." Palpatine leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with an intensity that seemed to cut through all of Anakin's defenses. "I know about the visions, Anakin. I know what you see when you close your eyes." Anakin's blood ran cold. The nightmares, Padme dying, the medical droids, the blood, the light fading from her eyes. He had told no one about those visions, had kept them locked away in the darkest corner of his mind. "How do you know about that?" "I know many things. I know that you have been having these visions for weeks now. I know that they show you a future you cannot accept. And I know that the Jedi cannot help you. They would tell you to let go of your attachment, to accept her death as the will of the Force." Palpatine's voice dropped to barely more than a whisper. "But I can teach you to defy that fate. I can teach you to keep her alive." The words hung in the air, like a lifeline thrown to a drowning man. Anakin stared at Palpatine, his mind racing, his heart pounding. "That's impossible. No one can stop death. The Sith can. It is a power that the Jedi know nothing about, a technique passed down through generations of Sith Lords. It was taught to me by my master, Darth Plagueis the Wise. He was so powerful in the dark side that he could influence the midichlorians to create life itself. He could even keep the ones he cared about from dying. What happened to him? He taught his apprentice everything he knew, and then his apprentice killed him in his sleep. Ironic. He could save others from death, but not himself. Anakin's mind reeled. A Sith Lord. Palpatine was a Sith Lord. The enemy they had been hunting for years, the mastermind behind the war, had been hiding in plain sight all along. He should feel horror. He should feel outrage. He should ignite his lightsaber and strike down this monster before he could harm anyone else. But all he could think about was Padme. You can save her. I can teach you how to save her. Together, we can discover the secrets of the dark side. Together, we can achieve a power greater than any Jedi has ever known. Palpatine rose from his chair, extending his hand in invitation. The choice is yours, Anakin. You can go back to the Jedi, submit to their judgment, and watch helplessly as your wife dies in your arms. Or you can embrace your destiny, become what you were always meant to be, the most powerful being the galaxy has ever known. Anakin stared at the outstretched hand. His whole life had led to this moment. Every trial, every failure, every betrayal. The Jedi who had never trusted him, Windu who had tormented him, the Council who had stood by and let it happen, and Padme, always Padme, the one bright spot in a universe of darkness, the one thing worth living for, worth dying for, worth killing for. Who are you really? Palpatine's smile widened, and for a moment, his features seemed to ripple, revealing something ancient and terrible beneath the surface. I am Darth Sidious, Dark Lord of the Sith. And I have been waiting for you for a very long time, Anakin Skywalker. The revelation should have shocked him. It should have filled him with revulsion, with righteous anger, with the determination to strike down this evil before it could spread further. Instead, Anakin felt only a strange sense of peace. The conflict that had been tearing him apart for months suddenly seemed to resolve, the warring impulses in his heart aligning toward a single purpose. The Jedi had failed him. The Republic had failed him. But Sidious offered something none of them ever had: hope. Teach me. Palpatine's eyes blazed with triumph. Pledge yourself to my teachings. Learn the ways of the dark side. And together, we will save Padme. Together, we will rule this galaxy as master and apprentice. Anakin thought about everything he had endured. The years of suspicion and distrust from the Council. The manipulation at Windu's hands. The cold judgment of masters who saw him as a tool to be used rather than a person to be valued. And he thought about Padme. Her smile, her laugh, the way she looked at him like he was the most important thing in the universe, the children growing inside her, the family they would build together. He couldn't lose her. He couldn't. I'll do whatever you ask. Then kneel, my apprentice. Slowly, deliberately, Anakin sank to one knee. The movement felt right, natural, as if he had been building toward this moment his entire life. The last vestiges of his Jedi training screamed at him to stop, to fight, to resist. But he silenced them ruthlessly, burying them beneath the weight of his desperation. And rise as Darth Vader. The name echoed through the chamber like a death knell. Darth Vader. A Sith title, dark and powerful, erasing everything that Anakin Skywalker had been. The last light of Anakin Skywalker flickered and died. In its place, something new was born, something darker, something that would reshape the galaxy in fire and blood. Rise, Lord Vader. We have much work to do. Vader rose, and in his heart, where guilt and conflict should have burned, there was only cold certainty. The Jedi would pay for what they had done. All of them, starting with Mace Windu. The Jedi Order learned of Palpatine's true nature through their own investigation, running parallel to the chaos surrounding Anakin's exposed marriage. Ki-Adi-Mundi had been tracking suspicious financial transactions that led back to the Chancellor's office. Yoda had felt a growing darkness in the Force, centered on the Senate building, and newly returned intelligence from a deep-cover agent in the Separatist leadership confirmed what they had feared. Palpatine was Sidious. The Sith Lord they had been hunting had been right under their noses all along. The Council convened in urgent secrecy. The revelation changed everything. Every battle they had fought, every sacrifice they had made, had been orchestrated by the very man who claimed to be leading them. The war was a lie, designed to destroy the Republic and the Jedi from within. They had to act quickly before Palpatine realized they knew. An arrest team was assembled, the best duelists the Order had to offer: Kit Fisto, Aegon Kollar, Sae Tiin, and leading them, despite his recent disgrace, Mace Windu. Windu insisted on being part of the mission. His position on the Council had been stripped away, but he remained one of the Order's greatest warriors. More importantly, he was determined to prove his worth, to redeem himself in the eyes of his fellow Jedi. "You don't have to do this," Kit Fisto said, as they prepared to leave. "No one would think less of you for staying behind." Windu's jaw tightened. "I started this mess. I'll see it through to the end." The strike team moved through the Senate building under cover of emergency protocols. Their Jedi robes concealed lightsabers and resolve, their faces masks of grim determination. They had faced Sith before, had thought they had destroyed the darkness forever with the death of Darth Maul. Now they knew how wrong they had been. The corridors were strangely empty as they approached the Chancellor's office. The usual bustle of aides and staff was absent, the reception areas abandoned. It was as if the building itself knew that something terrible was about to happen. Kit Fisto glanced at Windu, concern evident in his large, dark eyes. "Something feels wrong. The Force is churning with darkness. I feel it too. Stay alert." They reached the door to Palpatine's private office. Windu paused, reaching out with the Force, sensing what lay beyond. The darkness was overwhelming, a concentration of malice that pressed against his consciousness like a physical weight. "He's powerful, more powerful than anything I've ever felt. Then we strike fast and hard. Give him no time to react." Windu nodded and activated the door control. The office was dark, lit only by the glow of Coruscant's skyline streaming through the windows. Palpatine sat behind his desk, apparently reviewing documents on a datapad. He looked up as they entered, his expression one of mild surprise. "Master Windu, I wasn't expecting you. Is something wrong?" "You're under arrest, Chancellor." Windu's voice was cold, his hand resting on the hilt of his lightsaber. Or should I say, Lord Sidious. A long moment of silence followed. Palpatine's expression remained carefully neutral, but something shifted in his eyes. The mask of benevolence began to crack, revealing glimpses of something ancient and terrible beneath. "Are you threatening me, Master Jedi? The Senate will decide your fate." "I am the Senate. Not yet." Windu ignited his lightsaber, and the other three masters followed suit. The office filled with the hum of energy blades, blue and green casting stark shadows across the walls. "It's treason, then." Palpatine rose from his chair, and suddenly a crimson lightsaber was in his hand. But where it came from, none of them could say. One moment his hands were empty, the next he was armed and lunging at them with a speed that defied belief. The Sith Lord moved like nothing they had ever encountered. His lightsaber was a crimson blur, striking at all 4 Jedi simultaneously, his movements so fast that they seemed to leave after images in the air. Aegon Kolar fell first. He had been a master for decades, his skills with a blade renowned throughout the Order. But he never even had a chance to raise his lightsaber in defense. Palpatine's blade punched through his chest before he could react, killing him instantly. Saesee Tiin lasted only seconds longer. He tried to flank the Sith Lord, coming in from the side while his companions engaged from the front. It was a sound tactic, one that should have worked against any normal opponent. But Palpatine was far from normal. He spun, impossibly fast, and cut Tin down with a single savage stroke. Kit Fisto managed to engage the Sith Lord properly, his lightsaber meeting Palpatine's in a clash of light and energy. He was one of the Order's finest duelists, his command of Form 1 unmatched by any living Jedi. For a moment, he seemed to hold his own, his blade weaving a defensive pattern that kept Palpatine at bay. Then the Sith Lord smiled. He feinted high and struck low, his blade slicing through Kit Fisto's defenses with contemptuous ease. The Nautolan master fell, his eyes wide with shock, the light fading from them before he hit the ground. 3 Jedi Masters, among the best in the Order, defeated in less than 30 seconds. Only Windu remained. The 2 warriors faced each other across the bodies of the fallen. Palpatine's face had twisted into something monstrous, the benevolent mask of Chancellor Palpatine replaced by the cruel visage of Darth Sidious. Yellow eyes blazed with dark fire, and his lips were pulled back in a feral grin. "You cannot defeat me, Windu. The dark side is more powerful than you can possibly imagine. I have waited decades for this moment. I have manipulated entire star systems, orchestrated wars, shaped the destiny of trillions. And you think you can stop me? We'll see about that." Windu attacked. He was a master of Vapad, the most dangerous lightsaber form ever devised. Unlike other forms, Vapad did not simply defend against the darkness. It channeled it, fed upon it, transformed the opponent's malice into fuel for the wielder's own attacks. Against a Sith Lord, it made Windu uniquely dangerous. Their lightsabers clashed in a furious exchange. Crimson met purple in bursts of sparking energy, the impacts sending shockwaves through the Force. Palpatine's attacks came with devastating speed, each strike carrying the weight of millennia of Sith tradition behind it. But Windu met them all. He fed on Palpatine's darkness, drew strength from the Sith Lord's hatred, and channeled it back against him. Each attack that Palpatine launched became a weapon in Windu's hands, the darkness transformed into power that fueled his defense and counterattacks. They fought across the office, destroying everything in their path. The Chancellor's desk was cleaved in half. Priceless artwork was reduced to shards. Windows cracked from the pressure of their battle, letting in the howling wind of Coruscant's upper atmosphere. Palpatine tried to disengage, to create distance so he could use his Force powers. But Windu stayed on him, pressing the attack, refusing to give him a moment's respite. The Sith Lord's grin began to falter as he realized that this opponent was unlike any he had faced before. They crashed through the windows and onto the ledge outside. The wind tore at their robes, threatening to pull them into the void. 1,000 meters below, the lights of Coruscant's lower levels twinkled like distant stars. Neither combatant seemed to notice. They were locked in a struggle that transcended physical danger, a contest of wills as much as weapons. Every stroke was a test, every parry a question, every counterattack an answer. Windu pressed his advantage. He could feel Palpatine weakening, the Sith Lord's attacks becoming more desperate, his defenses more ragged. The darkness that had seemed so overwhelming was beginning to crack, revealing the frail creature beneath. With a masterful disarm born of decades of practice, Windu sent Palpatine's lightsaber spinning away into the void. The Sith Lord staggered backward, his back against the window frame, his yellow eyes wide with something that might have been fear. "You are under arrest, my lord." Palpatine's face contorted with rage and desperation. "No, no, you will die." His hands came up, and lightning erupted from his fingertips. The blue-white energy crackled through the air, aimed directly at Windu's chest. But the Jedi Master was ready. He angled his lightsaber, catching the lightning on the blade and redirecting it away. The energy splashed harmlessly against the walls, leaving scorch marks on the elegant stonework. Palpatine poured more power into the attack. The lightning intensified, becoming a torrent of destruction that threatened to overwhelm Windu's defenses. The air crackled with ozone, the sound of the attack almost deafening. "Please," Palpatine suddenly wailed, his voice shifting to a pitiful whimper. "Please, don't kill me. I surrender. I'll stand trial. Just please, have mercy." The shift was jarring, the Sith Lord's demeanor changing from murderous rage to pathetic pleading in an instant. Windu knew it was an act, a final, desperate gambit, but he had to be sure. He had to end this properly. "You Sith slime. After all you've done, you expect mercy." He raised his lightsaber for the killing blow, and then a voice spoke from behind him. "No." Windu's heart froze. He knew that voice, had heard it raised in anger and defiance countless times over the years. Anakin Skywalker stood in the doorway. But it was not the Anakin Windu remembered. This figure was dressed in dark robes, his hood pulled low over his face, and his eyes, burning with sickly yellow fire, were the eyes of a Sith. "Step away from him, Master." "Anakin." Windu's voice was strained as he struggled to maintain his defense against Palpatine's lightning while keeping his attention on the new threat. "What are you doing here?" "He's the Sith Lord. He's been manipulating everyone, including you. We have to stop him together." "Together?" Vader laughed, and the sound was like ice cracking on a frozen lake. "You blackmailed me. You tormented me. You used the woman I love as a weapon against me. And now, you want me to help you. I was trying to protect the Order. You were trying to control me. Just like the Council, just like everyone else. You saw me as a threat to be managed, not a person to be helped." Behind Windu, Palpatine's lightning sputtered and died. The Sith Lord slumped against the wall, his face a mask of false exhaustion, but his yellow eyes gleaming with triumph. "Anakin, please," Palpatine whimpered. "Don't let him kill me. I can save your wife. I'm the only one who can." The words cut through the chaos like a blade. Vader's expression flickered, pain and desperation warring with rage. "He's lying, Anakin." Windu's voice was urgent now. "Whatever he's promised you, it's a lie. The Sith can't save anyone. They can only destroy." "He saved me." Vader's voice was cold. "He showed me the truth about the Jedi, about you. And now, I'm going to return the favor." He ignited his lightsaber. The blade glowed blue, a cruel irony, the weapon of a Jedi in the hands of a Sith. "Don't do this, Anakin." Windu kept his lightsaber raised, trying to defend against both threats at once. "Whatever I did to you, this isn't the answer. If you let Palpatine live, millions will die. The Republic will fall. Everything we fought for will be destroyed. The Republic is already destroyed. The Jedi are already lost. All that's left is to finish what you started." "Vader," Palpatine groaned from his position against the wall, feigning weakness. "Help me. Please. He's going to kill me." "No. No one is going to kill you, Master." Vader's voice was steady now, filled with terrible certainty. "Except Windu here is going to die." He attacked. Unlike his intervention in another timeline, this was not a desperate act of confusion. This was not a young man torn between loyalties, striking out of panic and fear. Vader knew exactly what he was doing. Every strike was deliberate, precise, fueled by years of resentment and rage that had been building since the moment Windu first confronted him in that shadowed corridor. All the humiliation, all the fear, all the sleepless nights and desperate prayers and hollow victories. It all came pouring out now, channeled into his lightsaber, transforming it into an instrument of pure vengeance. Windu barely managed to bring his lightsaber around in time. The impact of Vader's strike sent shockwaves through his arms, nearly knocking the weapon from his grip. He staggered back, desperately trying to find his footing, but Vader was already pressing the advantage. The young Sith fought with a fury Windu had never seen before. Every strike was fueled by years of resentment, every thrust carrying the weight of accumulated grievances. There was no finesse, no subtlety, just raw, overwhelming power, driven by hate. "You did this," Vader snarled as his blade crashed against Windu's again and again. "You made me into this. You had years to help me, to guide me, and instead you chose to destroy me." Windu called upon every technique he had learned in a lifetime of training. He parried and dodged, counterattacked when he saw openings, used the environment to his advantage. But he was exhausted from his battle with Palpatine, his reserves depleted, and Vader seemed to only grow stronger with each exchange. "I was trying to save you," Windu gasped as he blocked another devastating strike. "The Jedi saw your potential, but they also saw your danger. Someone had to keep you in check." "Keep me in check?" Vader laughed, and the sound was terrible. "Is that what you call what you did? Blackmailing me, threatening my wife, sending me on suicide missions hoping I'd die?" Their lightsabers locked, faces inches apart. Windu stared into Vader's yellow eyes, searching for some trace of the man he had once known, some spark of light that might still be reached. There was nothing there, only darkness. "Anakin, please." Windu's voice was desperate now. "Think about what you're doing. If you kill me, if you let Palpatine live, you'll be damning yourself. There will be no coming back from this. I don't want to come back. Coming back means returning to the Jedi and their chains. I'd rather burn in the darkness than live another day under your control." "I was trying to save you," Windu gasped. "No." Vader's voice was cold. "You were trying to break me, and you succeeded." He disengaged and brought his lightsaber down in a savage arc. Windu's blade rose to block, but too slowly. The blue blade bit into his wrist, severing his hand. Windu screamed, stumbling backward, clutching the cauterized stump. His lightsaber clattered to the floor, deactivated and useless. He looked up at Vader, with eyes full of pain, and something that might have been understanding. In that moment, Windu finally saw the truth. He saw the full extent of the damage he had caused, the way his manipulation had broken something fundamental in Anakin's soul. "I was wrong," Windu said, his voice barely a whisper. "What I did to you, it was wrong. I'm sorry, Anakin. I'm sorry for everything." For a moment, something flickered in Vader's eyes, a shadow of compassion. Perhaps if Windu had said those words months ago, they might have made a difference. But it was too late now. "Your apology means nothing." Vader's voice was devoid of mercy. "You're sorry that your scheme backfired. You're sorry you can't control me anymore. Anakin, please. Think about Padme. Do you think this is what she would want?" The words struck home. Vader hesitated, his lightsaber hovering in the air. Then he smiled, and it was the most terrible thing Windu had ever seen. "This is for Padme." Vader drove his lightsaber through Windu's chest. The Jedi Master's eyes went wide, a gasp escaping his lips. He looked down at the blade protruding from his body, then up at Vader's face. "You used her. You took the most precious thing in my life and turned it into a weapon. And now, you dare invoke her name." He twisted the blade. Windu's face contorted with agony. "May the Force forgive you," Windu whispered, "because I cannot." Then the light faded from his eyes, and he slumped to the ground, dead. Vader stood over the body, breathing heavily, his lightsaber still ignited. Behind him, Palpatine rose from his slumped position, his face splitting into a triumphant grin. "Well done, my apprentice. I knew you had it in you." Vader deactivated his lightsaber and turned to face his master. Whatever remnants of Anakin Skywalker had remained in him died with Windu. He was Vader now, wholly and completely. "What would you have me do?" "Go to the Jedi Temple," Palpatine commanded. "Do what must be done. Do not hesitate. Show no mercy. The Jedi are enemies of the Republic now. Every last one must be eliminated." "What about the younglings? Especially the younglings. They are the seeds from which new Jedi would grow. We must uproot them all. It will be done, my master." The attack on the Jedi Temple began an hour later. Vader led the 501st Legion through the temple's gates, his lightsaber cutting down the guards before they could raise an alarm. Behind him marched clone troopers, whose inhibitor chips had been activated, their loyalty now belonging to the Sith Lord who had engineered this moment. The temple was quiet at this hour. Most of its residents were asleep, trusting in the security of walls that had protected them for millennia. They had no idea that security was an illusion, that the greatest threat had already breached their defenses. The first wave of Jedi to respond were temple guards, their yellow lightsaber pikes igniting as they rushed to meet the invaders. They were skilled warriors, trained to protect the temple at any cost. But they had never faced anything like Vader. His crimson blade met their yellow ones in a clash of light and fury. The guards fought with discipline and coordination, attacking from multiple angles, trying to overwhelm him with numbers. But Vader was beyond such tactics. He moved through them like a shadow, his lightsaber striking from impossible angles, his force powers sending them flying into walls and pillars. One guard managed to land a blow on his mechanical arm, the pike's energy blade sending sparks flying. Vader responded by crushing his throat with the Force, lifting him off the ground and hurling him into his companions. In less than a minute, the guards were dead. Vader stepped over their bodies and continued deeper into the temple. Behind him, the 501st spread out through the corridors, executing their orders with mechanical precision. Every Jedi they encountered was to be eliminated. No exceptions, no mercy. The first to fall were those who had been sleeping in their quarters, cut down before they could fully wake. Then the meditation chambers, where Jedi who had been communing with the Force found their connection severed by blaster bolts. Then the archives, where a lone librarian tried to protect the knowledge stored within and died with ancient texts clutched in her hands. Vader moved through the chaos with purpose, drawn by the Force to where the greatest concentrations of Jedi could be found. He encountered a group of knights who had managed to organize a defense in the main hall, their lightsabers forming a wall of light against the darkness. "There are too many of them," one of them shouted. "We have to retreat." "There is no retreat," another replied. "This is our home. We make our stand here." Vader smiled behind his mask. He admired their courage in a distant, academic way, But courage would not save them. He charged. His lightsaber was a blur of crimson, striking at the wall of defenders with devastating force. The knights tried to hold their ground, their training taking over as they parried and dodged. But Vader was too fast, too powerful. His strikes shattered their defenses, broke their formations, sent them scattering. One knight, a Nautolan with wide, frightened eyes, managed to slip behind him and attack from the rear. Vader sensed the blow coming before it landed and spun, catching the knight's lightsaber on his own and forcing it aside. With his free hand, he reached out through the force and stopped the knight's heart. The Nautolan collapsed without a sound. Vader turned back to the remaining defenders. There were 4 of them now, down from the original 12. They had formed a tight circle, backs to each other, lightsabers raised. Terror radiated from them in waves. "Surrender," one of them said. "Please. We don't want to die." Vader's only response was to attack. When the last of them fell, he paused to survey the destruction. The main hall was littered with bodies, Jedi and clone alike. Scorch marks covered the walls and floor. The great statues of ancient masters had been toppled, their stone faces staring up at the ceiling with empty eyes. It was beautiful, in a way. The death of an era, captured in a single moment. But there was still work to be done. He made his way to the council chamber, where he sensed the final resistance gathering. The greatest of the Jedi who remained in the temple, those too proud or too brave to flee, preparing to make their last stand. The doors slid open at his approach. Inside, a handful of masters stood in a loose semicircle, their lightsabers ignited. Vader recognized some of them from his years in the Order. Sin Dralig, the temple's swordmaster, whose skills with a blade were legendary. Shaak Ti, whose calm presence had guided countless Padawans through their training. Others whose names he couldn't recall, their faces blending together in his memories of a life that no longer mattered. "Skywalker," Dralig said, his voice heavy with grief. "What have you done?" "What was necessary?" "Necessary? You've slaughtered your brothers and sisters. You've destroyed everything we've built. How can you call that necessary?" "Because the Order was already dead. It died the moment the Council decided to fight a war instead of seeking peace. It died the moment they allowed fear and suspicion to guide their decisions. I'm just finishing what they started." Shaak Ti stepped forward, her lightsaber humming softly. "It doesn't have to end this way. There is still good in you, Anakin. I can feel it. Let us help you find your way back to the light." For a moment, something flickered in Vader's eyes. A shadow of doubt, a ghost of the man he had been. But it passed as quickly as it had come, smothered by the darkness that now consumed him. "The light failed me. It's time to embrace the darkness." He attacked. The battle that followed was the most intense of the night. Sin Dralig was every bit as skilled as his reputation suggested, his lightsaber moving with a precision and speed that would have overwhelmed any ordinary opponent. Shaak Ti fought with a grace that seemed almost supernatural, her movements flowing like water, adapting to every attack. But Vader was no ordinary opponent, and the darkness gave him strength they could not match. He caught Dralig's blade in a lock and pushed, forcing the swordmaster back step by step. With his free hand, he reached out through the force and hurled a bench at Shaak Ti, forcing her to break off her attack to deflect it. In that moment of distraction, he disengaged from Dralig and spun, his lightsaber slashing across the swordmaster's chest. Dralig fell, his eyes wide with disbelief. Shaak Ti cried out in grief and renewed her attack, her strikes coming faster and harder than before. But grief made her sloppy, opened holes in her defense, that a calmer mind would have avoided. Vader exploited them ruthlessly, his blade finding the gaps in her guard, scoring hit after hit. Finally, with a move she didn't see coming, he drove his lightsaber through her heart. She fell to her knees, looking up at him with eyes that held more sadness than fear. "I forgive you," she whispered, "and someday you will forgive yourself." Then the light faded from her eyes, and she was gone. Vader stood alone in the council chamber, surrounded by the bodies of the masters who had once sat in judgment over him. The same masters who had denied him, doubted him, tried to control him. They were nothing now, just corpses, waiting to be forgotten. He deactivated his lightsaber and turned toward the door. There was still one more task to complete. The younglings were the last. They had hidden in the creche, guided by their caretakers to the one place they thought might be safe. The youngest were barely more than toddlers, their connection to the Force still raw and undeveloped. The oldest were perhaps 10 or 11, old enough to understand what was happening, young enough to hope that someone would save them. When the door opened and they saw a familiar face, relief flooded through them. Master Skywalker. He would protect them. He would save them. "Master Skywalker," one of them said, a young human boy with wide, frightened eyes. "There are too many of them. What are we going to do?" Vader looked at them. Children, innocent, untouched by the politics and betrayals that had shaped his fall. They had done nothing wrong, posed no threat, but they were Jedi, potential servants of the light, potential threats to the Empire that was about to rise. And Palpatine's orders had been clear: no survivors. He ignited his lightsaber. The screams echoed through the temple long after the last of them had fallen. When it was over, when the temple burned and the bodies lay still, Vader stood on the steps outside, gazing up at the columns of smoke rising against the Coruscant sky. The fire cast dancing shadows across his face, reflecting in eyes that no longer held any trace of the man he had been. Anakin Skywalker had walked into this temple as a boy, eager and uncertain, dreaming of becoming a Jedi. Tonight, Darth Vader walked out of its ruins, leaving behind everything that had ever mattered to him. He felt nothing. No guilt, no remorse, no conflict. The part of him that might have felt such things was gone, burned away in the fires of his hatred. All that remained was cold purpose, unwavering devotion to the path he had chosen. Palpatine's voice crackled through his communicator. "The Separatist leaders have fled to Mustafar. Go there and end this war once and for all." "Yes, Master." On Mustafar, the fires of the planet's molten surface cast everything in shades of red and orange. Vader's starfighter descended through the ash-choked atmosphere, landing at the facility where the Separatist Council had taken refuge. The facility was a refinery, one of countless such installations that dotted Mustafar's surface, harvesting the valuable minerals that lay beneath the lava. It had been repurposed as a command center, its industrial machinery now serving the needs of war. The Separatist leaders were waiting for him in the main conference room. Newt Gunray, the sniveling coward who had started this whole mess. Wat Tambor, whose technological genius had armed the droid armies. Poggle the Lesser, whose factories had built those armies. San Hill, who had financed the war. Shumai, Rune Hako, Pasal Argente. The entire Separatist Council gathered in one place. They thought he was there to negotiate. They thought the war might finally be ending, that they might escape with their lives and fortunes intact. They were wrong. The negotiations will be short, Vader said, igniting his lightsaber. What? Gunray's eyes went wide. We were promised a settlement. Lord Sidious assured us that we would be well compensated for our service. Lord Sidious sends his regards. The slaughter began. They ran, of course. They begged. They offered him everything they had. Money, power, information. Anything he wanted, if only he would spare their lives. None of it mattered. Vader moved through them like a force of nature, his lightsaber cutting down each one in turn. Gunray died with a scream on his lips. Tambor tried to activate a droid defender and was cut in half before he could reach it. Poggle fought back with his staff and lasted exactly 3 seconds. When the last of them fell, Vader stood among the bodies, breathing heavily. The work was done. The Separatist leadership was eliminated. The war was over. He walked out onto the facility's balcony, gazing at the rivers of lava that scarred the planet's surface. The heat was intense, even at this distance, the air shimmering with thermal distortion. It was a hellish landscape, utterly inhospitable to life, a fitting place for a monster to stand. He heard the ship before he saw it, a sleek Naboo skiff descending through the smoke and ash. His heart, or what remained of it, recognized the vessel immediately. Padme. She emerged from the ship alone, her face pale with horror and grief. She had seen the news feeds, heard the reports of what had happened at the temple. She had come hoping that it wasn't true, that her husband hadn't become the monster the galaxy was calling him. But one look at his eyes told her everything she needed to know. "Anakin, what have you done?" He turned to face her, his expression unreadable. The eyes that had once looked at her with such love now held nothing but cold determination. "What I had to do. The Jedi were going to destroy us. They were going to take our children and turn them against us. I stopped them. You killed them. Children, Anakin. You killed children. They would have grown up to be our enemies. I removed the threat before it could materialize." Padme's hand went to her belly, where their children grew. She looked at the man she had married, the man she had loved with every fiber of her being, and saw a stranger wearing his face. The transformation was complete. Whatever had been left of the Anakin she knew had been consumed by this creature of darkness. "This isn't you. This can't be you. The Anakin I know would never do something like this. The Anakin you knew was weak. He let himself be manipulated, controlled, tormented by people who should have helped him. I'm stronger now. I can protect you. I can protect our children. No one will ever threaten us again." The words should have been reassuring. They were everything she had ever wanted to hear, the promise of safety and security that had driven them together in the first place. But the cold, mechanical way he spoke them turned them into something terrible, something threatening. Protect us? By becoming a murderer, by serving the Sith Lord who started this war. Palpatine saved me. He showed me the truth. The Jedi were never going to accept me. They were never going to let us be together. But with Palpatine's help, we can build something new. A galaxy where we don't have to hide, where our children can grow up without fear. Fear? Padme's voice cracked with emotion. Anakin, you're the one spreading fear. You're the monster people are running from. And if you think I'm going to stand by your side while you burn down everything we fought for, you don't know me at all. Something flickered across Vader's face. Pain, perhaps. Or the ghost of a love that had once burned brighter than any star. For a moment, just a moment, Padme thought she saw the man she had married looking out at her from behind those terrible yellow eyes. Then, the moment passed, and the monster returned. I'm doing this for us. Can't you see that? Everything I've done, everything I've become, it's all for you and the children. I never asked for this. I never wanted this. I wanted you, Anakin. Just you, not this empire of blood and ashes. She was crying now, tears streaming down her face, her heart breaking with every word. She had loved him so completely, had given him everything she had. And this was what it had come to. This was how it ended. I would have followed you anywhere, she continued, her voice breaking. I would have left everything behind, the Senate, my position, all of it, if you had asked me to. We could have disappeared together, built a life somewhere far away, but not like this. I can't follow you into this darkness. Vader's expression hardened. Then you're either with me or against me. Don't say that. Don't make me choose. There is no choice. There is only me and what I'm trying to build. If you're not part of it, then you're an obstacle. And I remove obstacles. The threat hung in the air between them. Padme stared at him, disbelief and horror warring on her face. He couldn't mean it. He couldn't actually be threatening her, not after everything they had been through. Would you kill me, Anakin? Would you kill your own wife? The silence that followed was the most terrible sound Padme had ever heard. Only a Sith deals in absolutes. The words came from behind them. Obi-Wan Kenobi emerged from the shadows of the ship, his lightsaber not yet ignited, but his hand resting on its hilt. His face was drawn with grief, his eyes red-rimmed from tears he had shed, and tears he was still holding back. Padme spun toward the ship, her eyes widening. Obi-Wan, what are you doing here? I came to see if there was any truth to the reports. Any chance that my brother hadn't fallen. Obi-Wan's voice was heavy with grief, but beneath it was a core of steel. But I can see now that the truth is worse than I feared. Vader's face twisted with rage. You, what are you doing here? He whirled on Padme, accusation blazing in his eyes. You brought him here to kill me. No! Padme stepped back, her hands raised in desperate denial. I didn't know he was on the ship. Anakin, please, I would never betray you. But Vader wasn't listening. The darkness that had consumed him was feeding on his paranoia, twisting everything into proof of conspiracy. Liar! You're with him. You've always been with them. His hand came up, and suddenly, Padme couldn't breathe. An invisible grip closed around her throat, squeezing the life from her. She clutched at her neck, her eyes bulging, her mouth opening in a silent scream. Anakin, stop! Obi-Wan rushed forward, his lightsaber igniting. Let her go. Vader held the grip for a moment longer, watching Padme struggle, watching the fear in her eyes. Then, with a contemptuous flick of his wrist, he released her. She crumpled to the ground, gasping for air, her hands going instinctively to her belly, where their children still grew. You've turned her against me, Vader snarled at Obi-Wan. You turned everyone against me. You have done that yourself. Don't lecture me, Obi-Wan. I see through the lies of the Jedi. I do not fear the dark side as you do. I have brought peace, freedom, justice, and security to my new empire. Your new empire. Don't make me kill you. Anakin, my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy. If you're not with me, then you're my enemy. Obi-Wan's face hardened. Only a Sith deals in absolutes. I will do what I must. You will try. Vader ignited his lightsaber, the blue blade humming to life. Across from him, Obi-Wan did the same. They stood facing each other across the platform, two men who had once been brothers, now enemies. Behind them, Padme struggled to rise, one hand still pressed to her throat, the other supporting her belly. She looked at them with eyes full of despair, knowing that whatever happened next Nothing would ever be the same. They attacked simultaneously. Their lightsabers met in a clash of light and thunder, the impact sending shockwaves through the Force. They broke apart and attacked again, their blades weaving patterns of deadly beauty in the air. The duel was unlike anything either had experienced. They knew each other's styles intimately, had trained together for over a decade, had fought back to back against countless enemies. Now that knowledge became a double-edged sword, each combatant anticipating the other's moves while searching for weaknesses. Vader fought with raw power, his strikes fueled by rage and hatred. Each blow was meant to kill, to overwhelm, to destroy. He channeled the dark side without restraint, letting it flow through him like a river of fire, amplifying his strength and speed beyond anything he had achieved as a Jedi. Obi-Wan was patient, defensive, waiting for his moment. He knew he couldn't match Vader's power directly. His only hope was to outlast him, to wait for the rage to burn itself out and leave openings that could be exploited. He fell back on Soresu, the defensive form he had mastered over decades, letting Vader's attacks break harmlessly against his defenses like waves against a cliff. They battled across the facility, their lightsabers carving molten scars in walls and floors. Platforms collapsed beneath their feet. Pipes burst, spraying superheated gas. The whole structure groaned under the stress of their combat. "You were the chosen one," Obi-Wan shouted as they locked blades. "You were supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them. Bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness." "The Jedi destroyed themselves," Vader snarled back. "They refused to change, refused to evolve. All I did was finish what they started." They broke apart, circling each other like predators. Behind them, the facility's main structure began to collapse, sinking slowly into the lava below. The heat was becoming unbearable, the air itself seeming to burn with every breath. "Come with me, Anakin. It's not too late. We can still fix this. There's nothing to fix. The old order is dead. And you're going to join it." Vader attacked again, his strikes coming faster and harder. Obi-Wan deflected them all, but he was tiring. Each exchange took more out of him, while Vader only seemed to grow stronger, feeding on the darkness of the planet and the hatred in his heart. They fought their way out of the facility and onto the collection platforms that stretched over the lava river. The heat was intense, searing their lungs with every breath. Molten rock churned below them, hungry and patient. Obi-Wan leaped to a hover platform, and Vader followed. They dueled as the platform carried them over the river of fire, their lightsabers casting reflections in the molten surface below. "I have failed you, Anakin. I have failed you. I should have known the Jedi were plotting to take over. Anakin, Chancellor Palpatine is evil. From my point of view, the Jedi are evil. Then you are lost." The words cut deeper than any lightsaber could. Lost. That was what he was. Lost to the darkness, lost to the hatred, lost to everything he had once been. But Vader didn't care. He had chosen this path. He would see it through to the end. "This is the end for you, my master." He attacked with renewed fury, driving Obi-Wan back across the platform, their lightsabers blurred with speed, the clash of energy filling the air. Vader pressed his advantage, forcing Obi-Wan closer and closer to the edge. But Obi-Wan was not finished yet. He saw his chance. A small platform jutting from the bank of the lava river, higher than where they currently fought. He leapt, propelling himself through the air with the Force, and landed on the high ground. Vader looked up at him, hatred burning in his yellow eyes. "It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground. You underestimate my power. Don't try it. But Vader had never known when to walk away from a fight, had never known how to accept defeat. It was the weakness that had always defined him, the pride that refused to bend. He leapt, propelling himself upward with the Force, his lightsaber raised for a killing stroke. Obi-Wan moved. His blade caught Vader in midair, slicing through his legs at the knees and his remaining arm at the elbow. The Dark Lord tumbled through the air, momentum carrying him down the embankment, and came to rest at the very edge of the lava. His robes caught fire. His flesh began to burn, and all he could do was scream. Obi-Wan stood over him, tears streaming down his face, his lightsaber still ignited, but lowered to his side. "You were the chosen one. It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them. Bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness." Vader looked up at him through the smoke and flames, his face contorted with agony. But even now, even in the depths of his defeat, the hatred did not fade. If anything, it burned brighter. "I hate you." The words were a curse, a final rejection of everything they had once meant to each other. Brother against brother, friend against friend, light against darkness. Obi-Wan's voice broke. "You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you." He turned away. He couldn't bring himself to deliver the killing blow, couldn't bring himself to end the life of the man who had once been his closest friend, his student, his family. He left Vader there, burning on the shores of Mustafar, and walked back to the ship where Padme lay dying. The medical droids did what they could, but it wasn't enough. Padme's will to live had been shattered along with her heart. She held on just long enough to give birth to twins, a boy and a girl, before the light finally faded from her eyes. Her last words were of Anakin, of the good that she believed still existed in him, buried somewhere beneath the monster he had become. Obi-Wan didn't have the heart to tell her she was wrong. Palpatine arrived on Mustafar shortly after Obi-Wan fled. He found Vader where he had fallen, more dead than alive, his body ravaged by fire and amputation. Any other man would have perished from such injuries. But Vader was no ordinary man. The medical droids worked through the night, rebuilding what remained. Cybernetic limbs replaced the ones he had lost. A life support suit encased his ruined body, and a mask, black and terrible, covered the face that had once belonged to Anakin Skywalker. When Vader rose from the operating table, he was reborn. No longer man, but machine. No longer Jedi, but Sith. The transformation was complete. "Lord Vader," Palpatine said, his voice dripping with false sympathy, "I'm afraid your wife died during childbirth." Vader stood in silence for a long moment. In another timeline, this news might have broken him, might have sent him spiraling into despair and self-destruction. But this Vader was different. He had made his choices with full knowledge of what they meant, had embraced the darkness willingly and without reservation. When he finally spoke, his voice emerged as a deep, mechanical rasp. "Then there is nothing left of the old life. Good." "And good it shall be," Palpatine agreed. "Together, we will build a new order, one that will bring peace and stability to the galaxy. Peace through strength." "Exactly." Vader turned to gaze out the viewport at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, the remnants of the Jedi Order were fleeing, hiding, preparing to resist. Somewhere out there, his children lived, unaware of the Father who had created them. He would find them all, in time. But for now, there was work to be done. The months that followed saw the transformation of the Republic into the Galactic Empire. Palpatine declared himself Emperor, and the Senate, cowed by fear and manipulation, approved the change with thunderous applause. Democracy died not with a bang, but with the sound of hands clapping. Vader became the Emperor's enforcer. His black-clad figure strode through the corridors of power, inspiring terror wherever he went. The mere whisper of his name was enough to silence dissent, to crush hope, to remind the galaxy of the price of defiance. His first hunt came within days of his transformation. Intelligence reports indicated that a group of Jedi survivors had gathered on Kessel, seeking to regroup and plan a resistance. There were perhaps a dozen of them, knights and masters who had escaped the initial purge, now hiding in the spice mines that riddled the planet's surface. Vader went alone. His shuttle descended through Kessel's turbulent atmosphere, buffeted by winds that would have torn apart a lesser vessel. The planet was a harsh, unforgiving place, its surface scarred by centuries of mining, and its population broken by generations of slavery. It was the perfect place for fugitives to hide, and the perfect place for them to die. The Jedi had chosen their refuge well. The spice mines formed a labyrinth of tunnels and chambers, some natural, others carved by machines and desperate hands. They had set up sensors and traps, early warning systems that would alert them to any Imperial approach. None of it mattered. Vader moved through the mines like a shadow. His presence in the Force was a void, a darkness so complete that it swallowed the light around it. The Jedi's sensors registered nothing. Their Force-enhanced awareness detected no danger. They didn't know he was coming until he was already among them. The first Jedi fell before she could ignite her lightsaber. A Twi'lek knight named Ayla Thren, who had survived the Temple massacre by being off-world on a mission. She had spent the past weeks in a state of constant terror, jumping at every sound, seeing Sith in every shadow. In the end, the shadow had been real. Vader's blade punched through her back and emerged from her chest, her eyes going wide with shock before the light faded from them. He withdrew the weapon and turned to face the others, who were only now realizing that death had found them. There were 11 Jedi in all. They formed a circle around him, lightsabers ignited, determination mixed with fear on their faces. Some were veterans of the Clone Wars, warriors who had faced droids and separatists across 100 battlefields. Others were barely more than Padawans, young and untested, their training incomplete. None of that mattered either. Vader attacked. His lightsaber was a crimson blur, striking at impossible angles, finding weaknesses that shouldn't have existed. The Jedi fell one by one, their defenses shattered by the sheer ferocity of his assault. A Rodian master managed to land a glancing blow on his shoulder, earning a grunt of pain before his head parted from his body. A human Padawan tried to flee, only to be lifted by the Force and slammed against the cavern wall with bone-crushing force. In less than 3 minutes, it was over. Vader stood among the bodies, his breathing mechanical and steady. He felt nothing for the lives he had taken, no guilt, no satisfaction, nothing. They had been obstacles in his path, and now they were removed. He activated his communicator. The Kessel resistance has been eliminated, awaiting further orders. Palpatine's voice crackled through the speaker, warm with approval. "Excellent work, Lord Vader. Return to Coruscant. There are matters we must discuss." The hunts continued. Over the following months, Vader tracked down Jedi across the galaxy. Some were alone, hiding in remote corners of the Outer Rim. Others had formed small groups, desperately trying to preserve something of the Order that had been destroyed. All of them met the same fate. Each hunt taught him something new about his power. The dark side flowed through him more freely now, unrestrained by the guilt and conflict that had once held it back. He could feel the Force in ways he never had before, could sense the fear and desperation of his prey, from systems away. The mask that covered his face amplified these sensations, feeding them directly into his consciousness, making him more machine than man in his relentless pursuit. On Christophsis, he found a Jedi master named Trasa, who had been leading a small band of survivors in guerrilla attacks against Imperial convoys. She was ancient, her connection to the Force running deeper than almost anyone Vader had encountered. When they faced each other in the ruins of a crystal mine, she looked at him with eyes that held more sadness than fear. "I can sense what you once were," she said. "The light still flickers within you, buried deep beneath the darkness. It's not too late to turn back." Vader's response was to attack with savage fury. Their duel lasted longer than most, the old master's experience compensating for her age and diminished strength. But in the end, experience could not overcome raw power. Trasa fell, her last words a whispered prayer to the Force. On Tula, he encountered a knight named Kai Justice, who had managed to save a group of younglings from the temple massacre. The knight had hidden them in a monastery in the frozen wastes, hoping that the planet's obscurity would protect them. It didn't. Vader arrived in the dead of night, when the temperature had dropped so low that exposed flesh would freeze in seconds. He found Justice standing guard at the monastery's entrance, lightsaber in hand, resolve written on his face. "Let the children go," Justice said. "They're innocent. They've done nothing wrong. They are Jedi. That is crime enough." The duel was brief but fierce. Justice fought with the desperation of a man protecting those he loved, his strikes powered by emotion that the Jedi Order would have condemned. For a moment, he almost landed a killing blow, his blade coming within inches of Vader's mask. But almost was not enough. When Justice fell, Vader entered the monastery and found the younglings huddled in the darkness, their eyes wide with terror. There were 7 of them, the oldest perhaps 12, the youngest barely more than a toddler. He ignited his lightsaber. When he returned to his shuttle, his robes were stained with blood, and his soul, if he still possessed one, was stained with something far darker. He filed his report with clinical detachment and awaited his next assignment. The galaxy learned to fear the name Vader. Rumors spread of a dark figure who appeared without warning, who cut through Jedi like a scythe through wheat, who showed no mercy and felt no remorse. Some whispered that he was a demon, summoned from the depths of chaos to punish the galaxy for its sins. Others said he was a machine, built by the Emperor to serve as the perfect killing tool. Only a handful of people knew the truth, and most of them were dead. But Vader's duties extended beyond hunting Jedi. The Empire was still young, its grip on the galaxy not yet secure. There were rebellions to crush, dissidents to silence, examples to be made. On Gorman, protesters blocked the landing pad where the Emperor's shuttle was scheduled to arrive. Rather than delay the Emperor's arrival, Vader ordered the ship to land anyway, directly on top of the crowd. Hundreds died, their bodies crushed beneath the shuttle's landing struts. The incident became known as the Gorman Massacre, a stark demonstration of Imperial ruthlessness that discouraged similar protests across the galaxy. On Kashyyyk, the Wookiees rose up against their Imperial occupiers, their legendary strength and warrior spirit making them formidable opponents. Vader led the campaign to crush the rebellion personally, spending months in the forests of the Wookiee homeworld, hunting down resistance fighters and destroying their strongholds. By the time he was finished, Kashyyyk's population had been decimated and its survivors enslaved, their spirits broken by the overwhelming force brought against them. On Lothal, a nascent rebel cell had begun disrupting Imperial operations, stealing supplies, and broadcasting anti-imperial messages. Vader tracked them to their base in an abandoned communications tower and eliminated them one by one, saving their leader for last. The Zabrak had fought bravely, his makeshift weapons no match for a lightsaber, but his courage undimmed. Vader had almost respected him. Almost. Each mission hardened him further, calcifying the darkness that had taken root in his soul. The man who had once been Anakin Skywalker retreated deeper into the recesses of his consciousness, buried beneath layers of pain and rage and cold, mechanical efficiency. But the darkness was not complete. Not yet. Sometimes in the quiet hours between missions, Vader would find himself standing at a viewport, staring out at the stars. And in those moments, memories would surface unbidden. Padmé's smile, the warmth of her hand in his, the sound of her laughter, like music in a galaxy that had forgotten how to sing. He told himself that these memories were weaknesses, remnants of a life that no longer existed. He told himself that dwelling on them was pointless, that Padmé was dead, and nothing could bring her back. He told himself that the only thing that mattered now was power, the power to shape the galaxy according to his will. But the memories persisted, and with them, something else. A flicker of doubt, buried so deep that even Vader himself was barely aware of it. A whisper that asked whether this was truly what he had wanted, whether the price of his power had been worth paying. He crushed the doubt ruthlessly, burying it beneath layers of anger and pain. There could be no second guessing, no regret. He had made his choice, and he would live with its consequences, or die trying. The hunt for Obi-Wan Kenobi consumed him for years. His former master had vanished after Mustafar, disappearing so completely that even the Empire's vast intelligence network could find no trace of him. Vader knew he was alive, could feel his presence in the Force like a distant star, flickering but persistent. But locating that star in the vast darkness of the galaxy proved impossible. Vader sent probe droids to every corner of the Outer Rim. He interrogated captured Jedi for information about Kenobi's whereabouts. He personally investigated every rumor, every sighting, every hint that might lead him to his prey. All for nothing. Kenobi had learned to hide himself well, masking his presence in the Force, adopting a new identity, blending into the background of some forgotten world. He was out there somewhere, waiting. And someday, Vader would find him. The thought of that confrontation sustained him through the darkest moments. The memory of their duel on Mustafar, of the pain and humiliation of his defeat, burned in his mind like an eternal flame. He would have his revenge. He would stand over Kenobi's broken body and watch the light fade from his eyes. But not yet. There was still work to be done. The Emperor's plans unfolded with patient precision. The Senate, once the heart of galactic democracy, was reduced to a powerless debating society, its authority stripped away piece by piece, until nothing remained but the illusion of representation. The military expanded rapidly, swelling with recruits and conscripts, its ranks filling with officers who owed their positions to loyalty rather than competence. And at the center of it all, the Death Star began to take shape. Vader had been briefed on the project shortly after his transformation. A battle station the size of a small moon, capable of destroying entire planets with a single blast. It was the ultimate weapon, the ultimate expression of Imperial power. When it was complete, the galaxy would tremble. He approved of the concept, if not always the execution. The project was plagued by delays, cost overruns, and the inefficiency that came with any enterprise of such scale. Vader took personal interest in ensuring that progress continued, visiting the construction site regularly and eliminating anyone who fell behind schedule. His methods were effective. The engineers learned to fear him more than they feared failure, and work proceeded with frantic efficiency. But even as the Empire consolidated its power, Vader sensed that something was wrong. A disturbance in the Force, subtle but persistent, like a ripple spreading across a still pond. Somewhere in the galaxy, the light was gathering strength. Rebellion. It started small. Isolated incidents of sabotage and protest, easily crushed by local garrisons. But the incidents grew more frequent, more coordinated. Cells began to communicate with each other, sharing resources and information. Former separatist worlds that had been forcibly integrated into the Empire provided willing recruits and hidden bases. The rebellion was born in the shadows, nurtured by those who remembered what freedom had felt like. And despite the Empire's best efforts, it refused to die. Vader threw himself into the campaign against the rebels with the same ferocity he had brought to the Jedi Purge. He led raids on suspected rebel bases, interrogated captured operatives, and eliminated rebel leaders whenever they could be identified. His reputation for ruthlessness grew, whispered about in cantinas and safe houses across the galaxy. But the rebellion adapted. They learned to move faster, hide deeper, strike harder. For every cell Vader destroyed, 2 more seemed to spring up in its place. The fire he sought to extinguish only spread wider. It was during one of these counterinsurgency operations that Vader first encountered Senator Bail Organa of Alderaan. Organa had been a friend of Padmé's. They had worked together in the Senate, fighting for peace and justice in a galaxy sliding toward war. Vader remembered him from another life, a life that felt as distant now as the stars themselves. The senator had been careful, but not careful enough. Intelligence intercepts suggested that he was funneling money and supplies to rebel groups, using Alderaan's diplomatic immunity to shield his activities. Vader was dispatched to investigate. Their meeting took place in Organa's office on Alderaan, the white-domed buildings of Aldera stretching to the horizon beyond the windows. The senator rose to greet him, his face carefully neutral, betraying nothing of the fear that must have been churning beneath the surface. "Lord Vader, to what do I owe the honor of this visit? The Emperor has concerns about certain irregularities in your shipping manifests. Cargo that arrives in one place, but seems to disappear before reaching its destination. I'm sure there's a perfectly reasonable explanation. The bureaucracy of interstellar commerce can be complex. Then you won't mind if I conduct a thorough investigation of your records." Organa's expression remained calm, but Vader could feel his tension in the Force. The senator was hiding something. Of that, there was no doubt. Of course not. Alderaan has nothing to hide. The investigation turned up nothing concrete. Organa's people were too skilled, their methods too sophisticated. Whatever evidence might have existed had been scrubbed, hidden, or destroyed. Vader left Alderaan without making an arrest, but he filed his suspicions with Imperial intelligence. Someday, Organa would make a mistake. And when he did, Vader would be waiting. The years passed. The Empire grew stronger. The rebellion grew bolder. And Darth Vader stood at the center of it all, a pillar of darkness in a galaxy that had forgotten the light. He had become everything Mace Windu had feared. A monster of unprecedented power, driven by hatred and rage, answerable to no one but the Emperor himself. The Jedi Order was a memory, its survivors scattered and hunted, its traditions forgotten. The Republic was a footnote in history, replaced by an empire that would endure for 1,000 years. Or so Palpatine believed. Vader was less certain. He could feel the currents of the Force shifting, patterns emerging that even he could not fully comprehend. The darkness that had seemed so absolute was not quite complete. Somewhere, somehow, the light persisted. He thought of the children he had never known, the son and daughter Padme had given him before she died. Intelligence reports suggested that they had been hidden, spirited away by unknown agents before the Empire could claim them. He had searched for them, of course, had devoted resources to tracking them down. But they remained hidden, their presence in the Force masked by protectors he could not identify. Sometimes, in his darkest moments, Vader wondered what might have happened if things had been different, if Windu had never discovered his secret, if the Jedi had accepted his love instead of condemning it, if he had found another way to save Padme, a way that didn't require burning down everything he had once believed in. But such thoughts were pointless. The past could not be changed. The only thing that mattered now was the future. A future of darkness and power. A future in which the galaxy would bow before the might of the Empire and the terror of its black-clad enforcer. A future that would last forever. Or so he told himself. The galaxy stretched out before him, vast and terrified. In the months since the Empire's formation, Vader had become its most feared instrument. His name was spoken in whispers, a warning to those who might consider resistance. The black-clad figure with the skull-like mask, whose breathing echoed through corridors like a death knell, who could sense deception and crush rebellion with a thought. He had earned that reputation through blood and fire. The Jedi had scattered to the far corners of the galaxy, but they could not hide forever. Vader hunted them with the patience of a predator and the precision of a surgeon. Some he found quickly, their presence in the Force burning like beacons in the darkness. Others took longer, hidden by allies or masked by techniques that dampened their connection to the Force. But in the end, he found them all. Master Uvel, a Togruta who had once taught younglings the basics of lightsaber combat, was discovered on Naboo of all places. She had taken refuge in a monastery in the Lake Country, the same region where Anakin and Padme had been married. Perhaps she thought the location's significance would protect her, that Vader would not bring violence to a place his former self had held sacred. She was wrong. Vader descended upon the monastery at dawn, his shuttle cutting through the mist that hung over the lakes. The monks tried to stop him, peaceful men and women who had never raised a hand in violence. They fell before him without slowing his stride. Uvel met him in the courtyard, her lightsaber ignited, her face calm despite the fear he could sense radiating from her. She had accepted her fate, he realized. She knew she could not defeat him. She simply wanted to die as a Jedi, in battle rather than as a fugitive. He granted her that wish. It was the only mercy he offered. Jedi Knight Kira Vao had taken a different approach. Rather than hiding, she had integrated herself into the criminal underworld of Nar Shaddaa, using her skills to protect refugees and escaped slaves. She had built a network of safe houses and smuggling routes, helping those the Empire would destroy to escape to the Outer Rim. Vader dismantled that network, piece by piece. He tracked her associates, interrogated her allies, burned her safe houses to the ground. And when she finally emerged to face him, driven by rage at the destruction of everything she had built, he cut her down without hesitation. Her network had helped thousands escape Imperial justice. With her death, those escapees were left without protection, without hope. Many were recaptured. Many more simply disappeared, lost in the vastness of a hostile galaxy. Vader felt nothing for their fate. They had chosen to defy the Empire. They had earned whatever consequences followed. Master Quinlan Vos proved more challenging. The Kifar had always been unorthodox, dancing along the edge between light and dark throughout his career. When the Purge began, he vanished so completely that even Vader's intelligence network could find no trace of him. For years, Vos remained a ghost. Rumors surfaced occasionally, whispers of a dark figure who struck at Imperial outposts and disappeared before reinforcements arrived. Some said he had fallen to the dark side himself, that he now served his own agenda rather than the remnants of the Jedi Order. Others said he was building an army, preparing for the day when he could strike back. Vader eventually tracked him to Kashyyyk, where Vos had been working with Wookiee resistance fighters. Their confrontation was brutal. Two warriors who had both tasted the darkness clashing in the forests of the enslaved world. Vos fought with a ferocity that surprised even Vader, his attacks enhanced by touches of the dark side that most Jedi would have rejected. But in the end, power determined the outcome. Vader was stronger in the Force, more skilled with a blade, more willing to embrace the darkness fully. He defeated Vos and left his body for the Wookiees to find, a warning to any who might continue the resistance. And still, the hunt continued. There were always more Jedi to find, more threats to eliminate, more examples to make. The Purge had officially ended years ago, but Vader knew that as long as a single Jedi remained alive, the Empire would never be truly secure. So he kept hunting, and the galaxy kept trembling. He was the Empire's sword, its shield, its terror, and he was very good at his job. But late at night, in the solitude of his meditation chamber, Vader sometimes thought about the path that had led him here. Not with regret, never that, but with a kind of dark curiosity. He thought about Mace Windu, the man who had tried to control him, the man who had used his love as a weapon, who had sought to break him and remake him in the Jedi's image. Windu had thought he was protecting the Order, preventing the fall of the Chosen One. Instead, he had guaranteed it. The irony was exquisite. Windu had targeted Vader's weakest link, thinking it would give him leverage. Instead, he had forged that weakness into something else entirely. A source of strength, a wellspring of rage that would fuel Vader for decades to come. He remembered the moment of Windu's death with perfect clarity. The look of shock on the Jedi Master's face as Vader's lightsaber pierced his chest. The way his eyes had widened, then dimmed, then gone dark forever. The thud of his body hitting the floor. It had been the most satisfying moment of Vader's life. In that instant, everything had become clear. All the pain Windu had inflicted, all the suffering he had caused, all the manipulation and coercion and control, it had all been erased in a single stroke of vengeance. The tormentor had become the victim. The puppet had cut his own strings. And Vader had felt no guilt, no remorse, no flicker of the conscience that had plagued him throughout his years as a Jedi. Just pure, crystalline satisfaction. That feeling had sustained him through everything that followed. Through the slaughter at the temple, where he had cut down men and women and children who had once been his colleagues. Through the confrontation on Mustafar, where he had lost everything that remained of his old life. Through the long years of service to the Empire, hunting Jedi and crushing rebellions and spreading terror across the galaxy. Without Windu's manipulation, things might have been different. Anakin might have found another way, might have resisted Palpatine's temptations, might have remained a Jedi. His fall had never been inevitable, only made so by the very people who sought to prevent it. The Jedi's fear of attachment had created its own destruction. Their distrust of emotion, their suppression of love, had driven Anakin into the arms of the only person who seemed to accept him as he was. And that person had been a Sith Lord, yes, but at least he had offered power rather than chains. Vader had no doubt that Palpatine had manipulated him as well. The Sith Lord's machinations were endless, his plans spanning decades. He had probably engineered the entire situation, had perhaps even tipped off Padme about Windu's blackmail. But there was a difference between Palpatine's manipulation and Windu's. Palpatine had offered him power. He had offered him the tools to shape his own destiny, to protect the people he loved, to become something greater than a mere Jedi. Yes, those offers had been laced with lies and deception, but they had been offers nonetheless. Choices that Anakin had been free to accept or reject. Windu had offered him only chains, submission, obedience, the slow crushing of his spirit beneath the weight of rules and restrictions that had never made sense to him. There had been no choice in Windu's offer, only the illusion of one. Comply or be destroyed, bend or break. And so Anakin had broken, had shattered into 1,000 pieces and been reforged as something new, something darker, something that the galaxy would never forget. In the end, the choice had been easy. Vader rose from his meditation and walked to the viewport of his Star Destroyer. Below him, a planet burned, its resistance crushed beneath the Empire's boot. The flames were visible even from orbit, vast patches of destruction spreading across the surface like wounds in the planet's skin. It was not the first world to burn under his watch. It would not be the last. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. World after world falling into line, the Emperor's new order spreading like a shadow across the stars. Those who resisted were crushed. Those who collaborated were rewarded. And those who simply tried to survive learned to keep their heads down and their mouths shut. This was the galaxy that Windu's manipulation had created. A galaxy of fear and control, where power was the only currency that mattered and compassion was a weakness to be exploited. It was everything the Jedi had claimed to oppose, everything they had sworn to prevent. And yet, it had been their own actions that had made it possible. Their distrust of Anakin, their rigid adherence to rules that served no purpose, their willingness to use love as a weapon rather than acknowledge it as a strength. The Jedi had destroyed themselves long before Vader had set foot in their temple. He had merely delivered the killing blow. And at the heart of it all, a man who had once been Anakin Skywalker stood watch, no longer torn by conflict, no longer paralyzed by doubt. He had made his choice, and he would live with its consequences. Or rather, the galaxy would live with them. He thought of Obi-Wan, hiding somewhere in the Outer Rim, nursing his wounds and his guilt. The old man would be plotting, no doubt, searching for a way to undo what had been done, to restore the order that had failed so spectacularly. But it was a fool's errand. The Jedi were gone, their legacy reduced to ashes and memories. Nothing Obi-Wan could do would bring them back. He thought of Yoda, exiled to some forgotten world, meditating on the Jedi's failure. The ancient master had been so certain of his wisdom, so confident in his understanding of the Force. And yet, he had failed to see what was happening right in front of him, had failed to notice the darkness growing at the heart of the Republic, had failed to prevent the fall of the Chosen One. Let him meditate on that failure. Let him spend his remaining years contemplating how thoroughly his precious order had been destroyed. It was a fitting punishment for a lifetime of arrogance. And he thought of the children who had been smuggled away before he could claim them, the son and daughter Padme had given him before she died. They were out there somewhere, hidden by protectors he had not yet been able to identify, growing older, growing stronger, growing into threats. Vader had searched for them, of course, had devoted significant resources to tracking them down, but they remained hidden, their presence in the Force masked by techniques he did not understand. Someone was protecting them, someone who knew how to hide from a Sith Lord's attention. Someday he would find them. Someday he would bring them before the Emperor and complete their training in the ways of the dark side. They were his legacy, after all, the only thing that remained of the life he had lost. It was only fitting that they should serve the empire their father had helped create. But that was a concern for another day. For now, there was work to be done. Let them hide. Let them plot and scheme and dream of rebellion. In the end, it would make no difference. The Empire was ascendant. The Sith were triumphant. And Darth Vader stood at the Emperor's right hand, ready to destroy anyone who dared challenge their rule. This was his destiny. This was what he had always been meant to become. The mask that covered his ruined face hid any expression he might have shown. The suit that kept him alive hummed with mechanical efficiency, each breath a reminder of what he had lost and what he had gained. He was more machine than man now, a walking monument to the power of the dark side. And somewhere, in the deepest recesses of his mechanical heart, a voice that sounded almost like Anakin Skywalker whispered that Mace Windu had been right about one thing. He had always been dangerous. The Jedi had seen it from the beginning. They had sensed the potential for destruction that lurked beneath the surface of the frightened slave boy from Tatooine. They had known what he might become if his power was not carefully controlled. But instead of nurturing that power, they had feared it. Instead of guiding him, they had constrained him. Instead of trusting him, they had manipulated him. And in the end, their fear had created the very monster they had sought to prevent. The tragedy of Anakin Skywalker was not that he had fallen to the dark side. It was that he had never been given a real chance to choose the light. Every decision had been made for him, every path predetermined by others who claimed to know better. The Jedi had controlled him with rules and expectations. Windu had controlled him with blackmail and coercion. Even Palpatine had controlled him with promises and manipulation. In the end, the only choice that had truly been his was the choice to stop being controlled. To take his destiny into his own hands, no matter the cost. To become the monster they all feared, because at least a monster was free. It was not the redemption the prophecy had promised. It was not the balance the chosen one was meant to bring. But it was something. It was power. It was purpose. It was a galaxy bending beneath his will. And as Vader stood in the ruins of everything the Jedi had built, watching the temple burn on a view screen, he felt no conflict, no doubt, no regret, only certainty. The Jedi had tried to destroy him. They had used his love as a weapon, his passion as a chain, his dreams as a cage. They had taken everything from him, piece by piece, until nothing remained but rage and pain. But from that rage and pain, something new had been born. Something stronger. Something that would endure long after the last Jedi had been hunted down and destroyed. They had tried to break him. Instead, they had forged him. And now, the galaxy would tremble. Standing at the viewport of his Star Destroyer, Vader watched the stars wheel past in the familiar patterns of hyperspace. Below decks, thousands of Imperial soldiers and crew members went about their duties, each one a cog in the vast machine of empire. None of them knew who their commander truly was. None of them understood the tragedy that had created the monster they served. And perhaps that was for the best. The galaxy didn't need to understand Darth Vader. It only needed to fear him. The mission ahead was routine. Another planetary pacification. Another demonstration of Imperial might. The world was called Ryloth, home to the Twi'lek species, a people who had resisted Imperial rule since the beginning. Their rebellion had been persistent, but ultimately futile. Today, Vader would end it once and for all. He felt no anticipation at the thought of the coming slaughter. No excitement, no satisfaction. Just the cold certainty of purpose that had sustained him since the night he knelt before Palpatine and became something new. The man who had been Anakin Skywalker might have hesitated, might have searched for a way to achieve peace without bloodshed, might have felt compassion for the people he was about to crush beneath the Empire's boot. But that man was dead, had been dead for years. All that remained was Vader, the Dark Lord, the Emperor's fist, the destroyer of worlds and dreams. Mace Windu had tried to control that man, had tried to break him, to reshape him, to turn him into a weapon that served the Jedi's purposes. In the end, Windu had succeeded beyond his wildest nightmares. He had created a weapon, just not the one he intended. The stars continued their eternal dance outside the viewport, uncaring and unchanged by the tragedies that played out beneath them. Somewhere in that vast expanse, the children of Anakin Skywalker grew and learned, protected by guardians who hoped they might someday bring balance to the Force. Vader would find them eventually. He always found his prey. But that was a hunt for another day. For now, there was work to be done. He turned from the viewport and strode toward the bridge, his black cape billowing behind him, his mechanical breath echoing through the corridor like a promise of death. The galaxy had created him. Now the galaxy would live with the consequences. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.